Gurubhyo Namah, Guruji. Guruji, you're on mute.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Hari Om.
Gurubhyo Namah, Guruji.
Namaste, Guruji.
Sampatji is here.
Oh, okay.
So he is going to do the one important shloka for today, which is based on today's topic. So since he has a melodious voice, I asked his help.
Okay. Ketu in the 12th, what do you think about it?
Moksha, jnana.
Moksha.
Detachment. Not good.
Detaching
Not
from
good.
that pleasure.
From sharing, Guruji.
Huh?
Separation from sharing anything.
Is it moksha? How many of you believe it is moksha?
It takes you very high spiritually. I have a friend that I'm studying in Ketu 12th house Mahadasha.
What will be the experience of most of the world?
Materialistic things, Guruji. Not moksha.
Detachment from materialistic
Material,
things. If
yeah.
they put an effort, then they can go towards moksha a little bit more smoother.
Okay.
They don't find it, in my experience of my friend, they don't find it that
You're
hard
talking
to
about
surrender.
one friend.
That's true.
Okay.
Sorry, my bad.
If you talk about one friend, then I'll say, quoting my grandfather, I'll say alcohol is very good for health.
Why to make guesses? You can just read the Brahasutram now.
The person will go to hell.
Yeah, that's the question. That's the answer. You will go to hell if you have Ketu in the
Don't keep guessing. Yeah.
Now, what approach Jyotish Kasi did was, he said, see, let me not break my head on all this. I have a great guru there, right? Some consider Sage Bhrigu as the actual father of astrology. And I'm sure that we never got all the texts from these great rishis. Most of them were burned down by invaders. Okay, so we missed out on a lot of stuff. But where we have the stuff, let's take them seriously. Ketu in the 12th is hell, actually. Hell in this birth. The way you want to talk about, hell and heaven somewhere else. Okay. I know so many people who committed suicide in Ketu. But what Divya is quoting is, you better become spiritual. There's no other way.
Yeah.
That's all. So when Parikshit is told time is over, then what does he do? What happened to all his ego? When you're told it's over,
You surrender to God or you keep fighting and then go to hell, literally.
no. You have to learn the stories properly, mythology. Anybody can tell me what Parikshit did for the next 7 days?
Listen to Srimad Bhagavatam.
He went to the spiritual people and said, teach me everything because time is running out for me.
He actually first started the Sarpayagam and he tried killing every... Yeah. And then he went to Sukamachi for getting this recital.
Yeah. If you take that path of spirituality, things are quite different for Ketu in the 12th. So some of these statements have to be taken carefully. Like when Jyotish Kasi is quoting Ketu in the 12th is hell, then we have to first make that statement. Because if you keep repeating that statement, 9 out of 10 times you will be right. Okay, or 9.9 out of 10 times you will be right. If you quote Divya's rule, it will be 1 in 1 million or 10 million. That person is lucky because they somehow found out the truth, like Parikshit. There's no use. All this being a king is of no use. Okay? Because he was the king, he made that mistake, right? Because you know who I am. So, I think I told many examples of Ketu in the 12th. But unfortunately for this lady, even in Navamsha, Ketu is in the 6th house. So how can, in all our exercises, are we reading general things or are we reading a horoscope? Have you ever done in Patreon session just like that? But I think occasionally we did do, right? Just to get a good grip on, like for example, Janapriya, liked by people. Kishorji did it last time. That's a very nice thing, because if you can stack up on that, next time you see all those combinations, it will always alert you, maybe this person is quite famous or maybe liked by people. Famous and liked by people, same. Sometimes you can say notorious. Okay, we don't say famous. Famous, we use the word only for good things. So sometimes in our Patreon sessions, we have done that. And we might do more sessions like that. But the point is, there is no, there's no way you can talk about, general things like that. What happens if this planet is here, if that planet is here? Nothing is going to work. Now for this lady, the Navamsha Lagna is Meena Lagna. Okay, Meena Lagna. Where is the 7th Lord in Navamsha? In the 12th. Where is the Lagna Lord? In the 12th. Where is Rahu and Ketu? On the 6-12 axis. I'm quoting from my memory. Okay. You remember this because you say, oh my God, how does it work so perfectly? So far, no question of divorce. Only now. Why? So in Navamsha, if you see planets in 6 and 12, it is something, but then you need the permission from the Rashi chart. Okay. So now in Patreon sessions, this is not a beginner session, right? In Patreon sessions, you should not ask questions like, too general. That could apply for a large number of people. So we should stop doing that, because let's spend time on learning and fine-tuning our skills. Let's become more serious, and let's do something where all of us are going to gain. Okay. So we will now request Kishorji to continue.
Thank you, Guruji. That was really enlightening to hear the words. And as you had already mentioned, that when we are doing the Patreon sessions, it has to be on purely on astrology and for the common cause, rather than for individual causes. And I would prefer it that way. So for individual discussions, of course, we can always have ad hoc Zoom sessions or chats. But in a general gathering, it's better to stick to the topic.
Perfect.
And now today's discussion, before we kickstart, Guruji, is the recording started?
That's a nice question. Okay.
Yeah, it is recording.
That's the most. It is recording. Yes.
Okay. And can I also record it, Guruji?
Yeah. Please, one minute. Yeah.
Okay.
I made you the co-host. Can record it.
I always tend to fail to see the record button. Yeah.
No, when you press, I will tell you whether you started.
Record on this computer.
When you press the button, it is doing on your computer. Yeah.
Okay. So first and foremost, we'll have to do the Guru Vandana. Let me do the Guru Vandana. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Dasmai Sri, Guruve Namaha, Guruve Namaha, Guruve Namaha. And I now request Sampatji to start with the Ganesha salutations and then go ahead with the specific shloka, which is a very melodious shloka. And almost all of us in the Tamil-speaking community have heard this shloka in the movies. Sampatji, Vinayak shloka, please.
Thank you, Kishorji. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gururdevo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The next sloga, as suggested by Kishorji, is apt for this session. Om Shadamanam Bhavati Shadayuk Purusha Shadendriya Ayushevendriye Pradidishtati. It is roughly translated as follows. The person uttering this sloka wishes the person that is being blessed with a life of 100 springs, which roughly means 100 years in one lifetime, and that too with fully functioning indriyams, the senses, during that lifetime. To have all the faculties established fully intact in order to observe the daily chorus demanded by life and to pursue the virtuous way of life, be it in the physical, mental, social, or spiritual realms. Gurubhyo Namaha, pranams Gurubji. Over to you, Kishorji.
The same sloka that is usually heard in two-dimensional has now become three-dimensional because of the heart and soul and the the tone of the prayer. Thank you.
And if anybody is willing to tell us where we heard this song frequently, let me know if the people are there who are avid listeners of music, Tamil music especially. This is a very famous shloka used in a particular Tamil song.
I have heard it in a Telugu song.
Oh, okay.
The Shana, yeah.
Okay.
That's there. That's
Same
originally a
here.
Tamil movie. It's by Raja.
Yeah.
I can tell the song. I'm a Telugu speaking person, but I know that Tamil song one.
Okay, so it rings a bell, right? Yeah, with that pleasant memory. Yeah, with that pleasant memory and that beautiful music and the shloka that was rendered so beautifully by Sampatji. Thank you to you, Sampatji. We'll kickstart this session. Today's session is about something that's difficult to comprehend, but it's happening frequently. Most of the time, we come across this question as to the delay in marriage, especially for females. This delay in marriage for females is a cause for concern for parents because in India, especially, I'm talking with reference to India. Today's session is with reference to India and the Hindu community in particular or at large. And most of the Indians, I would say, whether they are even in other community, other religions, they will still have that the same feeling. Is that when girls reach an age where they're supposed to get married, the parents have the tension, the fear, the panic, and there's a sense of hopelessness. And that is a time when they will resort to either divine help or they would go for some all-out technical propaganda to get the children married. Now, as astrologers and as responsible students of our Guruji, one of the reasons why I did this session is because of frequent messages in the Patreon groups as well as in the WhatsApp groups as to why this person is not being married yet and what could be the reason and when they would get married. I'm pretty sure most of the friends here, the fellow astrologers, have been breaking their heads with this question. And to kickstart a discussion or to point a way in which I've been going and to take all of you along with that, along with me in that journey, let me kickstart with the reasoning behind or the rationale behind the delay by starting the slideshow. And let us hope we can enlighten each other on this. My first slide is actually non-technical. It is about today's session. So let me take the share screen. Okay. Gautam, can you please report if the slide is seen clearly? Sampaji?
Yeah, it is. I'm able to see Kishorji.
Yeah. So the delay in marriage, and today's topic is about the astrological factors, especially in females. Please make a note of this. Okay. Please read this text. It's a bit long, so let me read it out. Before we dig in, here's what we're looking at. Basically, this is to start with. We need to start somewhere. The seventh house, the seventh lord, are the primary factors in marriage. And what do we see there? We see the overall condition and disposition of these in the birth chart, in the Navamsha. They should be thoroughly assessed before we proceed further. And why Navamsha? Why D9? Because D9 is the main house that is connected with the event called marriage, though it has other special significations, but we use it primarily. And if you have been regularly looking at horoscopes, you will see that most of the horoscopes that are printed would have the D1 and the D9 side by side. So the D1 is somewhat like a broader map, and the D9 is more like a high resolution image of the same map. So it's always a good idea to keep the D9 in your purview at your glance. Don't forget the D9, please. The next point is we should also be looking at not just from the birth lagna. I'm talking about the seventh house and seventh lord, not just from the birth lagna, but also from the moon and from the Karaka Venus or Venus lagna. What is Venus lagna? Basically, where Venus is in the chart, we take that as the lagna, and from there we do the same quality assessment and review that we have been doing regularly. And another important caveat or a point that we need to keep in mind is that the dasha and bhukti of planets has to be favorable at the time of marriage. And from India's perspective, we can say, I would have to split it into two sections, because in North India, we tend to get married early. So for them, the starting point of marriage for females would be between 18 to 24. And for South Indians, it would be between 23 or 22 to 28, I would say max. So there is a small difference even in India, when you look at North India and South India. So keeping that aside, wherever the native is or wherever you are staying, if you're looking at the delay of marriage, please keep in mind the Desh Kal Patra. Always keep that in mind. That is point number one. Now, when you look at Dasha and Bhukti for planets connected in the 1-7 axis of the birth chart and the Navamsha, that is important, because sometimes if the Dasha and Bhukti is not favorable, the entire promise of marriage may also not fructify. So one of the reasons for getting a delay in marriage is this lack of proper Dasha and Bhukti. And another line that I wanted to add is that Rahu and Venus, that is Rahu Dasha Venus Bhukti or Venus Dasha Rahu Bhukti, usually tends to give marriage or relationships, and that is an observation made by Sri Mark Boni, and I'd like to acknowledge that. So please keep all this in mind. Now, is there any question at this moment, or shall I proceed forward to the next slide? Okay, I assume there's no question. The main suspect here, or the main cause for delay, usually is Saturn. And we say that Saturn is not just for marriage. The delay happens for other things also. We usually give the delaying cause of for Saturn. And apart from that, I know it's too difficult to ask, at this stage from budding astrologers. But there is something called Gandanta and Mrityu Bhaga and eclipse that plays a delaying role, or sometimes it can even play a denying role to the event called marriage, and not just for marriage, for other things also. Okay, so you'll be learning this in the future upcoming classes as to what is Gandanta and Mrityu Bhaga, and eclipse I think you are already aware of. Let us go into the next slide. Now this is a very important slide, the most important of all. And I'm sorry for this bad resolution. I think it should be clear in some of the.
No, it's very good. It's very good.
Okay. So when you look at this, start off with the dignity of Venus. So any one person in particular can raise their hand and tell me why Venus. What is the reason why Venus has been given the Karaka for marriage? Any one person. Anyone would like to go?
Can
please,
I try?
Please tell your name. Please tell your name and then you can start.
Yeah, this is Subha. Venus, because it also signifies semen.
This is for female charts.
Yeah, then Venus is the god lord for all arts and fine arts and other stuff, pleasures.
Okay. Anybody else would like to take an attempt?
Can I suggest Kishorji?
Yeah. Your name and then statement.
My name is Bharat. So Venus in 7th house amounts to Karako Bhavanashaya.
No.
So,
My question is, why is Venus considered as the Karaka for marriage?
Venus naturally stands for love, romance, and all, and partnership and relationship. So those are the natural karakatwas of Venus. So that is being considered as that for marriage.
Anybody else would like to give a try? Last attempt.
Kishorji, this is Ramesh.
Yes, Rameshji, please go ahead.
Yeah. Venus is the 7th lord of Kalapurusha. And
Is that
7th
the
lord
only thing? Is that the only thing?
That's one thing.
Okay.
Also second lord of Kalapurusha.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The second and the 7th lord. So it is the Kutumba Sthanadipati and the Kalatra Sthanadipati of the natural Kalapurusha. In simple English language, it will be the family lord and the spouse lord, or the house of spouse, the 7th house. On top of that, there is one question that was lingering in my mind from the last session when Guruji asked a question as to why is Venus exalted in Pisces and why is Mercury debilitated in Pisces. So that question is connected with this discussion that I'm having right now. Venus stands for, somebody said, stands for all the luxurious things in life and all that. Venus is also standing for Guru Shukra, that is the Ashura Guru. And being a Guru, of course, he bestows all the good things in the life of the native, but he also likes to have what is known as the sharing tendency. He likes to share, being the Guru. So that is the reason why Mercury, being the Karaka for calculation, logical thinking, would think twice before sharing, but Venus would want to share all the good stuff. And that's the reason why he's exalted in the 12th house of sharing. Now, coming to this question as to why Venus is a Karaka for marriage, simple. He owns he is the owner of the 2nd house of the family, the Kutumba Sthana, and he's also the owner of the 7th house, which is the marriage house. Therefore, a good dignified Venus augurs well for both the family and for the marital life. So I hope I'm clear on this. Okay. Apart from looking at Venus, then we go down to the specific natives chart, and then we look at the 7th house and the 7th lord. The 7th house is the playground, the arena, the fertile field or ground where the seedling of marriage is sprouting. The seeds of marriage or the seeds of the future spouse is going to be sprouting. So the 7th house and the 7th lord needs to be reckoned for the aspect of marriage. Next, we go to the 8th house and the 8th lord. Now, here again, let me ask people to take a turn by turn, 3 attempts. Why 8th house and 8th lord? And remember, this is with respect to the female natives. So please state your name. State your name. Yeah, please state your name and then the statement.
Correct.
Kishorji, this is Sri Devi. And for females, 8th house represents in-laws place.
Why?
Mangalya Sthana.
Yeah, please elaborate.
Can you repeat what he said, Sri Devi?
Mangalya Sthana, sir.
Okay. Would you like to elaborate on it? How it is the Mangalya Sthana, or why it is considered in the female chart and not in the male chart?
The people who might not know the term Mangalya Sthana, right?
Yeah.
Mangalya Sthana is something more traditional, like maybe South Indians use it more often, I think. Anyway, it's connected to the topic with the keyword Mangal, right? Auspiciousness. So, but why 8th house?
Anybody? Please mention your
8th
name.
house is second
Please
from
mention
7th
your
house.
name. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Please mention your
correct.
name.
Yeah, Kishorji, this is Karthik.
Yeah.
8th house is second from 7th house, and second from any house is gain of that house.
Yeah, it stands for wealth. It stands for family also. So that is what Sri Devi ji wanted to mention, but she used colloquial usage, and many people may not be aware of it. So the 8th, anybody else? I think the 3 attempts are there, so 2 are done, and anybody would like to give a better portrayal?
Kishorji, this is Sri Devi again.
Sri Devi ji, we'll have to
Sorry,
give
I would
another
like to
person.
give. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Kishorji, Hema here.
Yes, Hema ji.
So I just want to elaborate what Karthik has said. So 7th house we consider as a partner's house. So in female case, it's a husband's lagna, and when we know that the second house is the family. So 8th house is considered husband's family. So kutumba sthana for husband. So that's why both the things, husband and the family. And when a female gets married, she goes into a family when she marry a male, and that's the general perception on how the marriage should be. So that's why 8th house is also important.
Is there any other signification for second house?
Definitely, Guruji. We'll have to. I'm waiting for someone to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Guruji, I'll just try. 7th house is the spouse. So second from 7th is the maraka for the spouse. That is the so thereby it is a mangalya for the native, the women native who is there. So that is also what I think is a signification of that.
Please mention your name.
I'm Bharat.
Bharat Gomadam.
Yes, sir.
Something else missing here.
Kishorji, I have one more point.
Kishorji,
Yes.
Leena this side.
Yeah, Leena ji.
I remember Guruji telling that it's a reproductive house. For women, it matters the most, the healthy reproductive system. And hence, 8th house fertility is a good thing to happen.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that it is a house of secretive organs. So for the female, definitely it also implies those areas which are important for the
Uterus.
formation of the family.
8th house is the uterus.
Yeah, so that's good. Sri Devi ji, you wanted to say something different?
It is something similar, Kishorji. This house, 8th house represents the merging of energies and deep emotional bonds.
Very good, very good. Well, in other words, it represents sexual union or intercourse. Okay.
Right.
What is, okay, that was the 8th house. Did we miss anything, Guruji?
I think most of the points were covered.
Okay.
Right?
So now we go to the 12th house and the 12th lord. Once again, this question is to all.
1 minute.
Yes.
But the key for calling it Mangalya, I think those days, in India, the traditional, the cultural India that we know, there was no practice of divorce in the first place, right? So a marriage always ended only because of death. So it's very important that way, the 8th house. Sometimes we also found that when the lady had uterus problem, the marriage ended. Because the families, by even consent, will accept that, okay, now the man can marry again, because whatever is supposed to come out of the 8th house, the child is not happening. So the marriage gets spoiled even because of that. There are several ways of looking at the 8th house.
So that is with reference to the Desh Kal Patra.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. That was a new idea that will stick in my mind going forward. Yeah. So let's go to the 12th house and the 12th lord. As usual, please state your name. Why is the 12th house and the 12th lord also to be looked at?
This is Parameshwar Kishorji.
Yes.
Yeah, 12th house is just to check the dignity of the marriage. How long that marriage is going to. Obviously, the 12th house is the last. So they want to check the quality, how long, like the sustainability of the marriage. That is it.
Anybody else?
Yes, Guru Kishorji. This is Ramesh again. Kishorji.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You can hear.
This is Ramesh. Yeah. 12th house is the sharing, and it's Sayanasthana. It's very important for the intimacy of wife and husband. I think that's why we need to look into 12th house as well.
Very good. Sayana Bhogastana, what you call that, the bed pleasures. These are the significations that enhance the marital life, and that's the reason why whenever there's an affliction to these parameters, then we say that there is a delay of marriage. They're all interlinked, actually.
A very nice point is when the Maharishi Parashara in BPHS, chapter number 32 in G.C. Sharma's book, when he starts talking about the Upapada Lagna, in the beginning, you will notice this deals more with the spouse and children, right? Upapada Lagna. But if you look at Upapada Lagna itself, how is it derived? From what house is it derived?
12th house.
12th house. So that should set us, get us to wonder why the Maharishi has chosen the 12th house to talk about this. So many marriages fail because we very often complain, right? There's no union in the bed. That's a complaint. My husband is with someone else. He's sharing the bed with someone else, not with me. That's one. He's not giving me money. I'm in trouble. I'm in financial trouble. He's not taking care of me. He's not able to, sustain, he's not able to take care of the family. So there are several things about the 12th house. So it's not just this, like how people always say bed, pleasure of the bed. But in some of the situations where 12th house is severely afflicted, there won't be marriage at all in the first place. Okay. And the way the fight happens, it'll be very typical. I've heard it, because I've been reading horoscope for nearly 30 years. They'll say, as soon as it is like close to, sleeping time, the night time, that's when the fight starts. Then the man will say, I'm going to the other room and, I'll sleep on the sofa. I'll sleep on the floor. All this, as soon as they hit the bed, the problem will start. So there's so much about these 12th house things and bed, of course, because that's the last thing. On the day, right? If you say rising is in the early morning, 12th house will be what? The end of the day. So the end of the day becomes very important, mainly I think because even the physical union also happens only around that time, most of the time. That's a regular time for this. So where marriages are in trouble, if by that time they share and they, kind of say, it's okay, let's move on. And they have, let's say, a very satisfactory union, most probably they forget the fight. And then next day morning, they wake up in a very nice mood. So there's several reasons why 12th house. But whoever said the first student who said, I think 12th house is sharing, that is the main thing. Not willing to share. Even for those people who never got married, if you investigate, most of the time the exact reason is, I want everything for myself. I don't want to share my time, my resource, and my money with anyone else. It's almost selfish. Except it is exempt in the world of spirituality, sannyas. Because then the topic there has changed because it's now detachment and I want to share it to the whole world instead of just one person. There's a small twist to that. If you become a sannyas, it is like, I'm not going to just take care of one person, share my time, everything with one person. I have a broader vision of the world. I'm going to take care of the entire world. I'm going to share my time with them. So that's the only place, but that's very, very few and far between. If you look at 12th house in a certain way, you will find they remain bachelors, but they also work for the world. They worked very well for the world. They were very nice people and so on. So that's a separate category. Most other categories, you will find that they don't have the sharing ability at all or the mood to share. Okay.
And that could be one of the reasons why when there is a 12th house affliction, then the usual remedy that Guruji talks about is to donate, to give in charity, because they landed with the affliction in the first place because of not doing it in the past life.
Correct.
So that in one way will reverberate in better marital life or even achieving the marital status. Okay, so now let's go into the next topic. Is there any question till now? Okay. Please ignore that line in the center, that statement in the center for now, because that was supposed to come in the end, but I could not do something about it. Anyways, now please go to the green tile at the bottom left. The 5th house and the 5th lord for Putra Dosha. Okay, Sri Devi ji, straightly I'll ask you because we seem to see a lot of Putra Dosha in most of the charts. Yes, Sri Devi ji, do you want to explain why the 5th house and 5th lord is to be reckoned for or be a cause for delay in marriage?
The fruits out of marriage will come from 5th house. So if there is no 5th house Purva Punya, it obviously like there is no marriage.
Now, there are some beginners in this class. They might not know how the fruits are of marriage is coming in the 5th house, right? Can you explain that?
The 5th house is Purva Punya Sthana, Guruji. So 5th house also represents children. So if 5th house is like severely afflicted, that affects like marriage.
It is the 11th house from the 7th house. 11th house is always the fruits. Okay. 7th house is house of marriage. If you touch your 7th house in the horoscope and from there you go count clockwise again, when you reach 11th house, that is your 5th house. So the 5th is the 11th from the 7th. So it's fulfillment of the marriage itself. And if you see the traditional weddings, they'll always, so elders will come and say, may you have 16 children. Of course, it has other meanings also, but it's basically like the next focus is on when children. Okay.
So that is one big factor which is responsible for delay. And sometimes it may also be a cause for the breakup of marriages, and especially in olden times. When Guruji just mentioned, I remembered that in those days they would also do a second marriage if the first wife was not capable of giving birth to progeny.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else wants to comment on this 5th house and 5th lord? Do they have any other opinion or take? Okay. Now we go to the 2nd house and the 2nd lord. We have to see the dignity of the 2nd house and the 2nd lord. Why do we see the house first? Because the house, if it is barren, I always say the house is like a field, right? Like a paddy field or like a agriculture field. If the house is having afflictions, then whatever you try to grow there will not grow. So start with the 2nd house and then look at the dignity of the 2nd lord. Now, why is the 2nd house and 2nd lord? I think it is self-explanatory, right? If there's anyone here from the beginners batch, maybe we can elucidate on if someone asks. Or is it self-explanatory? Okay.
The key word is 2nd house is the house where we are possessive about. Possessions and possessive about. Easy way to spot a newly married couple on the street. Any ideas?
I know, but I will not tell that.
They are holding hands.
lot of bangles.
No. The man will be clutching the girl's hand.
And vice versa.
No, it's usually the man. In India, it's like this. I don't know how elsewhere how it is. Okay. So he'll be clutching the hand and, where the girl by herself could have crossed the road, it will look like, no. What will happen if something happens when my wife crosses the road? So just holding like a baby and then dragging. That will be almost for 3 months, I think. Okay. So second house, everything we are possessive about. Your family, your wealth, my locker, my key, my PIN card. I mean, a PIN number of the, my credit card. All that we possess, second house, is, just as one keyword for it. I am possessive about it. The only odd man out in this is it's also the house of death. Okay.
Yeah, and many people think that the Maraka lords are malefics. I would like to say that the Maraka lords will become Maraka lords only when the time has come for the native to leave the world.
Exactly.
Please don't confuse the Markadibadis as being malefics, or some spoilers, because they do good actually sometimes. Most of the times, in fact. Okay. Now, I'm willfully ignoring the Saturn-Sun on the 1/7 axis. This part, I'm leaving it to the friends here who are listening to this webcast to have to check whether this works or not as a cause for delay. Okay, and if it's possible, you can circle back to the group. Okay, Saturn-Sun on 1/7 axis. If somebody would like to comment on that, please feel free.
I will ask the question: why do you think that the Sun-Saturn opposition on 1/7 could spell, problems? Like maybe it's trying to tell something.
Because Sun and Saturn are worst enemies.
Okay.
And if you have worst enemies on 1 and 7, then you and your spouse will become worst enemies.
Okay, that's a good way to get started, right?
Also, Saturn is delay.
Saturn is delay. Okay. Is there something else you can add whenever there's a Sun-Saturn opposition, a dignity to Saturn or an avastha to Saturn? Something you can say?
Sun is also ego.
No. I'm talking about the avastha of Saturn when Saturn is opposite the Sun.
As usual, request you to mention the names because in the video, the names will not
be
correct.
Now, who spoke was Divya.
Divya.
Yeah. I think Divya Gupta.
Yes.
Anybody else would like to comment on that?
Kishorji, Leena. Deepakji, please go ahead.
Yeah, I feel Saturn will become retrograde when it is
exactly.
opposite to Sun.
It is called the peak of retrogression. So it will be the midpoint of retrogression. Okay, that means it will be perfect retrograde. So it will be on either side, this way, that way. I think how many days? More than 140 something. So many days it will be in that zone. But the easy way to spot retrograde is just put it opposite, it is confirmed retrograde, and then go backwards and forward. That is the retrogression zone of Saturn. When it comes directly opposite, when a graha becomes so much retrograde, it's like it's connecting to the past life. All the retrograde grahas are so much to do with the past life. And then we can add on to that saying Saturn-Sun fight on the 1/7. So the 1/7 is in fight. We can, like how the student mentioned just now, you can say there's so much of fight. And something like totally, there's, what other example can you say in terms of opposite planets? Completely different, Sun and Saturn, right? And Saturn, in the beginning slide itself, it was already mentioned that it is called the delaying planet because it is the slow one, Manda. So Manda means the slow one. In Vishnu avatar, it is the Kurma avatar. But slow and steady, right? I think there might be some other angle to this. Sometimes you can take it as Sun is also a kind of a lagna, right? Sun is also a kind of a lagna. Moon is a lagna. The ascendant, the moon, and the sun, they're all lagnas. Or you can talk from different angles, like because the sun is maybe your atma, something like that, and Saturn is called dukkha karaka or pravrajya karaka, like sannyas graha, sitting in the 7th from sun. We can add. I think I have seen many horoscopes where Sun-Saturn opposition has happened on the Navamsha chart and they never got married. Okay.
Oh, so that works, Guruji?
That works actually.
Okay. Because I'm yet to experience it, but maybe I can.
But I don't know. We have another issue also with the same axis about orientation problem. I've seen many orientation problem with this, confused and all that. It's also Saturn-Sun on 1/7.
Okay. So can we say that in the Kalpurusha chart, we say that Saturn is debilitated where Sun is exalted, and Sun is debilitated where Saturn is exalted, which means the opposing forces of darkness and light.
And that happens in the Kalapurusha 7th house matters.
Exactly.
You can add like that.
Yeah. So whenever we talk of something, this is a small suggestion to all my friends here, the fellow astrologers. Please refer even to the Kalpurusha Tattva, because that also gives you a lot of clue as to what's happening in a native's chart. For example, we have these barren signs, then we have the fertile signs. So those are to be taken into account. I willfully did not do that today because that would be too complicated and, it would leave too many
too many variables.
Too many variables is not good for beginners, at least from beginners' perspective. So I avoided that. Then we go to the Moon-Venus conjunction. And if it is happening without Jupiter's aspect, then there is a delay usually seen. So I'd like to ask Guruji to enlighten us if he has any, in his experience, if he has come across this or...
No, I think I didn't notice it because I was looking for mostly malefics and things like that. This is, maybe there's some truth in it, but we'll have to find out, okay?
Sir, is this because like Venus hates Moon and Venus is like Karaka for marriage and unionship and all?
No, I think if I now think about it, I can say maybe the person has excess of this and therefore little time for marriage.
That is what I was thinking also, Guruji.
That is possible. That is possible, right? Moon-Venus connection might actually be they have so many, and because of that, so many. Because when it's mentioned as Jupiter not aspecting, that means it is not restrained, right? It is not guided. It's not coming under rules because Jupiter is called the Dharma Karaka, the planet of rules and regulations. So unregulated Moon-Venus. Maybe that's the angle. I think that's the logic behind this.
Yes, Guruji. And Moon stands for emotion, Venus stands
for
desires.
So much they pair up with the love concept, the romance part, and so on. Maybe I think it will be peak if Moon, one of them is exalted, I think. Okay. One of them is exalted and then you have a Moon-Venus, conjunction. Maybe Venus is exalted and Moon is there. Or, possible.
You also, I think sometime back when we had discussed this orientation problem, this Moon-Venus also comes into play along with Saturn or Mars thrown in.
Correct.
So that
we'll
could
keep
be
that in mind.
Kishorji, one question. Is that only conjunction or aspect also works here?
Is that Parmeshji?
Yes, Kishorji.
Okay. So it's mostly conjunction means when they are in the same place.
Aspect also can
will not be that destructive because then there would be the lordship effect also coming into play.
Okay, sure.
So. And that is actually a big distinction when we say conjunct and aspect, because in aspect they are staring at each other. That is even difficult because sometimes when.
But when the aspect degree is equal, then it is more than conjunction. Like when in the conjunction, if the degrees are apart, then the aspect degrees are closer. We see aspect is
I think you mentioned that when they are directly looking at each other on 1/7 or then
perfect aspect.
Then it is a perfect aspect. But when they are together, they may be even like 15-20 degrees more than each other. So that time they will not be having that much of an affliction. We're not talking about Graha Yuddha here. So
see, but whatever it is, a conjunction is more serious or has more impact than aspect. Right? You can just think about human beings. When let's say two boxers are staring at each other in an interview and shouting at each other, there's one type of fight going on there. But what about they're together? They're in proxy, they're close to each other. That means it can get violent, right? So I think the looking is not the same as being with. The being with is more powerful, right? There is something common, right? A man looks at a lady, okay? Maybe it kickstarts the romance, but finally, which is superior? Coming together is superior. So conjunction is definitely superior than aspect. But both have some power.
And especially this 1/7 direct axis is
Direct aspect is definitely strong because it could be a range very close to the full aspect, right? 180 degrees.
Yeah. Okay. Now we come to the topic of UL, which is Upapada Lagna. And for beginners who are not aware of Upapada Lagna, please let me know if this was covered or is going to be covered, Guruji.
No, it's not covered yet.
Yeah.
But you can just on YouTube type Upapada Lagna and my name, E.K. Dhilip Kumar. I think I have done 3 videos totally.
Yes. And there are certain videos which I have been recommending to beginners, and especially with Guruji when I was discussing. There will be some list of videos that are essentials for beginners to go through. So very shortly it will be sent to your groups.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Gautam is working on it. Now we are
Guruji,
looking
I
at...
had a question, Kishorji. Sorry.
Yes, Soumya ji.
Yes. The moon, Venus, one thing I wanted to clarify, Guruji. You said in certain conditions, I think it gets this effect, right? Like you were saying, like supposing moon in the 7th, and it is also conjunct with Venus.
Yeah, one of them is exalted. Either Venus is exalted or moon is exalted. Maybe they are in a Kendra, like 1/7. So you have more of these things, right? So we do find, at least I think, in celebrity families and all these affluent families, you see, it's due to excess the marriage got spoiled. Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Even that is an affliction,
extra lust.
Soumya ji.
Yeah.
That is also
Too
an
much
affliction.
of tattva. Yeah. Okay.
Sir, while
Thank
we
you.
are going through this slide, I am comparing like what are all the delayed marriages that I have. This moon Venus conjunction is exactly there in 2nd house. And moon is debilitated, Guruji. I can show like
yeah. What is the age of the person?
31. She's a female.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And Sridevi ji,
And it's a water sign also. Scorpio, right? Sridevi ji?
Yes. She's
yeah.
Libra
So that's
ascendant.
water tattva, just too much. Okay. Yeah.
And moon was debilitated there, by the way.
Okay.
Yes, Kishorji. And there is no aspect of Jupiter on Venus and moon.
So let me here give a small information. In fact, it's an important information that most of the factors that I've taken here are taken from K.N. Rao's book, which is Delayed Marriage of Girls. And some of the factors I've added based on coming out separately in various religious books, or I mean not religious, I mean astrological books, classical books, and some of them they have not been used by K.N. Rao's students. So I've been bringing them up as in one platter, so that it becomes an easy ready reckoner for the students of our group and also for future astrological research. So there is one important dosha which is mentioned in South India. It's called as Punarphu Dosha. I think frequently we've been talking about this, Guruji.
Yes.
And this Punarphu Dosha seems to be explaining a lot of charts where delay is there. I mean, the delay is not seen unless and until we see Punarphu Dosha. So this Punarphu Dosha is like a heavyweight dosha. It stands especially for marital affliction. And I'd like to ask Sampatji to say a few words about Punarphu Dosha.
Yeah. Yes, you have nicely described that, Kishorji. It is a very interesting analysis, actually, if we go for Punarphu Dosha, which is nothing but involving Saturn and Moon. As Guruji and other student who explained earlier about Saturn-Sun, a somewhat similar concept is there for Saturn and Moon. If you take, for example, Moon takes is the fastest planet, right? It takes around 27 days to complete its rotation. Whereas Saturn, it takes 30 years to complete the 12 houses. So both are of a conflicting nature. Similarly,
Sampaji, 2.5 years for Saturn for one house, and Moon takes 28 days. Yeah.
No, he's saying the entire zodiac.
Yeah, then
zodiac.
for moon, he should have mentioned the entire zodiac, but he mentioned the one house for Moon.
No, I didn't mention one house. Okay.
No, he mentioned the entire zodiac for both.
I didn't mention the word zodiac, but yes, I meant zodiac.
Yeah.
So it takes 27 days approximately for Moon.
One round.
And one round, one rotation, one round. Yeah.
Okay.
And for Saturn, it is almost 30 years.
30 years.
And both are in conjunction, means we can assume what might be the conflicting energies together in place. Similarly, Moon is on the lighter side and Saturn is on the darker side. So both coming together. Again, a conflict between them.
Luminary and darkness. Okay.
Luminary and darkness. So when they are together, be it conjunction or aspect, it creates uncertainties to the person who is having this influence. There are various parameters. One is the conjunction of Saturn and Moon, that is powerful. Second one is Sama Saptama Parvai, which is a 1-7 axis between Saturn and Moon. It's going to be a perfect aspect between them. And next one is Parivartana of Saturn and Moon. The next parameter is Saturn aspecting 310 aspect to Moon. And another one is the Parivartana I told, right, between Saturn and Moon. And the next one is Saturn in Moon's nakshatra and Moon in Saturn's nakshatra. And finally, Moon's aspect to Saturn, which is of a lighter impact. So these are some of the rules. If it is there in a chart, probably that person might be experiencing a delay in marriage, sometimes a denial in marriage, some bad experiences during marriage, it might be during marriage or right after the marriage. So these are some of the things we can, it's not only restricted to marriage as Kishorji was highlighting, but predominantly we see it is having an impact in and around marriage.
Yeah. Guruji, your experience, please share.
A very peculiar thing used to be reported by my clients. Usually they'll say after engagement the marriage got cancelled. So many strange things. Everything was going well, then suddenly they called up and said, sorry, we are not going ahead. Some cases were some situations where the wedding cards were actually distributed and then something happened and they had to cancel. So these are the type. I think it's based on so much sadness, right? I mean, for the person who undergoes such a nightmarish event, only they will know what it is. For us, it may not, we may not know the intensity of it. But Saturn-Moon conjunction is one of the things that is used for sannyas, right? So it works against marriage so much. If you read the sannyas chapter, you will see it is actually based on, most of the time, Moon and Saturn.
So Guruji, I am presenting in a couple of weeks on this Saturn-Moon.
Oh, Saturn-Moon.
So I wanted to ask you that Punarphu, is it the same as Vishya Yoga? Because I couldn't, where do we find that
one
classical
person
text on this?
No. I don't think it was mentioned in BPHS. Must have come up later. But I came to know about it when I was reading KP Astrology, all the 6 readers. And Professor K.S. Krishnamurti has regularly used this because he was more hinting at an unchangeable destiny. And so he was looking for some fantastic, combinations that always, stood the test of time. So he had used it maximum number of times, I think, in his articles and discussions. But I think I learned it from him only. But Later, I found, I mean, when I was practicing astrology, I found it used to come as a surprise, like whenever I see this tight relationship, maybe one more time something with Saturn, right? So let's say like Saturn moon, it can be in 3 Saturn stars, or some extra point could have been there, some afflictions. I found it was very true. They just they this the marriage was called off. Oh, I came upon something else also. On the date of marriage, if Saturn and Moon are together, even then this can happen. I had this experience where they had come for Muhurta, and they said, we already fixed this date. The advance has been paid to the Kalyana Mandapam. And I said, no, you can't do it on that day because there is a Saturn Moon conjunction happening on that date. It's a risky thing. And then I came to know that the marriage was called off. Okay. So only incidents like this, proves, at least for me, I started taking Punarphu Dosha as one of, a pointer in a horoscope when I'm reading about marriage. But I think, basically what is Moon Saturn? Moon Saturn, when Saturn goes over Moon, we have Sade Sati. Some people are born with this conjunction. So the life started had a bad start with Sade Sati. And they'll go, the second round will be coming somewhere around marriage time. There's also that possibility, right? Normal marriage time. Somewhere between, what shall we say, 28 or something, 27 onwards, right? Centered around 30. If Saturn and Moon were together in a chart, it will repeat every 30 years, right? That same conjunction might repeat.
Do we also see it in Navamsha, Guruji?
We are supposed to see it in Navamsha also, correct? All right?
Yes.
Hi.
And
Good evening, Guruji. Please go ahead.
That was Mardini.
Mardini.
It's me, Mardini. Yeah.
Yes. Good evening, Mardini.
Yeah. Some they add one case to Punarphu Dosha. So I would like to take your opinion about it, which is one of the highest yoga for sannyasi. That not only the connection between Saturn and Moon, the dispositor of the Moon has no any aspect from any planet except Saturn.
Correct.
So they added Tabonarbo, and they said that this yoga can cause many problems in marriage. Like the marriage can be cancelled one day before the marriage. And one of the highest yoga for sannyasi, that the dispositor of the Moon has no any aspect from any planet
except
Saturn. Only Saturn accepting it.
Yeah.
So in the practical things, I see one case that it's applying to this, and I heard that some people they added to Punarphu Dosha as well.
Yeah, just to add to that, Mardini ji and some of the famous personalities who has this, B.V. Raman ji, the famous astrologer, has this. Saint Tyagaraja has this. Saint Ramanuja has this, and our ex-chief minister Jayalalitha has this, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that. And Rajendra Prasad ji has this. So that was interesting as well. Yeah. Thank you.
In Jayalalitha's chart, the Moon is separated from Saturn by a full sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, I asked the. Sorry, can I ask?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Divya this side. I asked the same question on the group. There was a bit of confusion. If the dispositor of the Moon is aspecting Saturn, but is again either sitting with a malefic or is being aspected by a malefic, does it change the dynamics completely?
Of which one?
So if, for example, Moon is sitting, so the same question he asked, if the Moon is sitting, if the dispositor of Moon is Venus and it's sitting with Mars, being aspected by Saturn and Rahu.
What does it change? It changes the Punarphu, you're saying.
Yeah. Because dispositor of moon is aspected by Saturn, but 2 malefics come in the picture.
Are you quoting any rule? Are you quoting a combination from any sloka, or you're just asking?
Just asking, a combination that I've seen.
Guruji, as such, it is an affliction. So whenever there are more afflictions that are piling up, then it is going to go in the downward direction. More towards, a person becoming more spiritual or wanting to steer into spiritual domain.
Okay.
That would be better actually for the native. The Soumyaji, I think it is Punarphu is actually a South Indian term, as you mentioned in the chat.
Yeah, I wonder if it means, does it mean poison by any chance? I don't know what it means, like word wise. Punarphu?
No, it is, I don't think it's a Tamil word. If anybody can correct me.
See, Punar means, I think again, right? It's again,
right?
Yeah.
I think Punar means union, Guruji.
Oh, okay. There's several ways, right? Okay.
Yeah.
No, but
Punar means previous.
The actual meaning is Punar in Tamil is what Guruji mentioned.
Rebirth. Punarjanmam.
Marubadiyam.
Okay. So because when it is getting cancelled, it will take you to the next, right? It is usually when a marriage is cancelled, who's going to leave it off like that? They will try and marry again. So it's usually once again.
Right? Okay.
It's actually once again. So Punar, actually, I think the spelling is wrong. It is actually Punarphu, BHU. Okay. So
Punarphu, okay.
Yeah, Punarphu. And when it is, what it means is that you marry somebody who was, I think, rejected by someone else. Or maybe even a widow. Usually, you can look at it from another point of view. Somebody is coming forward to give a new life to that girl. You will obviously come to know her marriage was cancelled in the last minute. And then a person will come and say, don't worry, I am here to save you. It can happen when Krishna married the 16,000 wives. That story is because they were all widows. And he said, I'm your husband from today, and then walked away from there. Right? He just called them his wife, gave them a status in society, and then immediately moved away from them. Okay, so it's actually Punarphu and not Punarphu, I think. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
It's a boo.
Because it's been so difficult to find something classical on this.
I am sure it is from Tamil. I'm sure it is from Tamil
Okay.
textbook, but the word is actually Sanskrit also. Once upon a time, I heard from a researcher in all this, this Tamil Sanskrit divide. One person says that there is proof that the drum that Lord Shiva has, what is that called? The Damru.
Damru.
That one, on one side, the Om is written in, like how it is written in Sanskrit, and the Om, the other side, it is written in Tamil. So it looks like these two languages must have shared words and coexisted. So, because surely the word Punar is a Sanskrit word, right? So Punarphu must be something where I think you're giving a second chance for someone.
Got it.
And in Tamil, the alphabet Bu is not there, I think. That's why they use
Yeah,
Bu.
that's why. So, maybe, spelling. So, I first thought it was Punarphu, okay? But later I found it as Punarphu.
Sir, I just searched in Google and Punarphu.
Name,
Sanskrit, it says lady who, after getting widowed, who marries again is Punarphu.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Punar, whatever Guruji
one
you're
more,
saying, right?
one more time.
Remarriage. Yeah, like
one more time, given a chance. Given a chance.
May I ask the previous person who spoke to mention his name?
Rahul.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just use this opportunity really quickly that please, if you have more charts on Saturn, Moon, please send it across. I have about 12. And this was an interesting conversation from marriage perspective also. I'll analyze it from that angle also. I didn't use that. So thank you for bringing this up, Kishorji. The Saturn Moon perspective, yeah.
In the movie Sholay, Amitabh Bachchan's wife, in the movie, not Amitabh Bachchan's wife, but what's her name? Jaya.
Jaya Bachchan.
Yeah, yeah. So she is a widow, right? In that movie, in the movie Sholay.
Yes.
And then there's a kind of a liking between Amitabh Bachchan and this lady in that movie. But she wears a white dress to signify, as a symbol of that she's a widow. And as we towards the end of the movie, Amitabh Bachchan dies, right? So that time I was not an astrologer, but I told all my friends, see, she has got so much bad luck that even this one is also failing. Okay. So I was very young.
One more chart, interesting chart is of Lord Rama.
Okay.
Where also we can see this Saturn aspecting Moon.
As Saturn aspecting Moon. I think I think Punarphu works so strongly if they're together. Wherever I quoted it to you, I was only mentioning that they are together.
Okay. Maybe that caused the separation.
Yes. After marriage, only everything started for him, right?
Yeah. There's so many reasons. Maybe this is one of them.
Yeah.
And I think we can go to the next block.
Yeah, lack of
good dasha at the marriageable age. This is applicable for almost any event, So,
correct.
Especially for marriage, then if there's a proper dasha not available at that time, then it is difficult to get married at the right time. And last but not the least, in this slide is Mangal Dosh from Lagna, Moon and Venus without saving grace. That is very important. Please don't jump to conclusions, especially the upcoming astrologers. Whenever there's a Mangal Dosh, we see presence of Mars and in certain houses, and you say this is Mangal Dosh, and then there will be a problem if you don't look at whether it is being nullified or not.
Okay.
If anybody would like to comment on that.
Because I learned about this from Sheshadrinath Shastrigal, that if you take it from Lagna, it is 100%. And if you take it from Moon, it is 50%. And when you take it from Venus, it is 25%. You have to go in that order. But I still feel when Maharshi wrote about this in BPHS, he actually mentioned only Lagna. Okay. So I think in the absence of Lagna, you have no other choice, you go to the Moon. And in the absence of Moon's position, you don't know what is the date of birth. You know, roughly this was the month of birth, then maybe Venus. It makes sense because all these three factors are important factors in our life as far as marriage is concerned. That's why from Venus also, from Karaka. But I always feel sometimes astrologers use this to kind of match every horoscope, where Mangal Dosha is a question. You see here in Lagna and there you see it's not in Lagna, so what? It is from Venus and then it's it's okay and so on. I have doubts about those ideas. I mean, this is my opinion, but quoting any classical book, you can say even this rule was also written. Mangal Dosha from Lagna, Moon and Venus.
Maybe that is an indication of overly active male energies, and in a female chart, if Mangal Dosha is there, then in today's context, actually, it is a good thing because when you say Mangal Dosha, it means the person going out, the natives, the females going out into offices and jobs, they need that energy, that Martian energy to sustain themselves. Otherwise, in olden times, that was destructive. Whereas in modern context, I think there is a small deviation there.
Okay.
So that is it. And then now we come to the two sentences in the center of the slide. The bottommost sentence is the one which is Sambandha of 5-7 or the 7-9 lords. So this has also come up in the research book by K.N. Rao, and we have seen this happening, Guruji, right?
Yeah. I've seen it several times. Yeah.
Which is more destructive, Guruji? Fifth in seven?
5 and 7. 5 and 7
7
connection.
Okay.
5 and 7 very much stronger than 7-9. But it came as a shock on why 7-9 connection is creating a problem in marriage. I'm not able to understand that. But even 5-7, I have some ideas because the 7th house.
7-9 combination usually doesn't create that much trouble in marriage, although there are multiple relationships.
Yeah, exactly. Relationship, and sometimes the passing away of the the spouse also has happened. That also I've seen. But you're right. I think maybe there it is because of maybe more the marriage is in trouble, or when there are many. I've noticed it on a one-to-one basis as almost like astrologers become psychologists. When a man has so many relationships, you know what happens? He's so used to it, and therefore there's no excitement in a marriage. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's no excitement in a marriage. I've seen it. So what? But marriage comes with commitments, and there's a lot of other things, like strings attached. Whereas here, no, I'm not so eager, because so often having relationship and then do I need a marriage in the first place? So that can also happen. 5-7. But 5-7, sometimes I've noticed that after the child is born, the trouble starts.
Yeah, correct. Hi, sir. Correct. I wanted to add this one that 5-7, either marriage or kids.
Yeah, correct. So it will go around the topic. Yeah, it will go around the topic. And very strange. And after, some men have told, to their wife, you yourself, you are like my child. Okay? Why do we need a child? And in some cases, denial of sexual union, which is almost like how you will be with your own child, right? So, this is one of the explanations I got from Sheshadrinath Shastrigar. That is, how will you know? Nobody has, it's impossible for a person to think about their own children that way, right? So, it is saying like 7th house of union is in the house of children. So, there won't be sex also if 5 and 7 gets connected. In the same way that one does not have sex with their own child, they will treat, I've heard this many times, telling the wife, you see, you are like my own child, don't bother, let's not have a child at all. Okay? Who needs a child? No need. Let's have pets. We'll have dogs and some pet at home, that's enough. So denial also has happened. And sometimes, as soon as a child is born, the trouble starts. But it is impossible to guess what might be the reason if you use normal common sense like a Trikona Adhipati, Trikona and Kendra connection is usually Raja Yoga. Right? So I learned this.
Guruji, in that scenario that you're saying, the 5-7 example that you're giving, those people are treating the spouse as a child, but are they having relationships outside or not?
No.
Not outside, okay. But still treating the spouse as a child?
No. You're right. They're having relationships outside, but not here. Not here.
Yeah, okay.
And when we question them, they say, I don't know, somehow I don't get the mood. I don't know, something switches off, I can't really think her like that. She's so precious to me, like a baby. I've actually heard this for 5 and 7. And 5 and 7 regularly childlessness as a reason for divorce. As a reason for divorce. But that's surprise, right? Because Maharshi never mentioned about children problem for 5 and 7 connection.
You mentioned in several classes, Guruji. 5
No.
and 7 is kind of Putra Dosha.
Yeah, but that is from experience and also by listening to Sheshadina Shastrigal. But it is not mentioned in the classical textbook. I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's not mentioned.
Yeah.
In, at least the Lord's houses in different houses, no such mention, right?
Yes, Guruji.
Yeah. I think, but when Kashi said about 7th Lord in the 9th or something, right? 9 connection, there was some logic, right? Because the Maharishi himself says many relationships or multiple marriages.
So can it also be 9th Lord aspected by 7th Lord?
Yeah, it can be. But there's that now at least where something has been written in the text, at least 7th Lord in the 9th has been, stated by Maharishi Parashara, but 9th Lord in the 7th he has not mentioned.
No, 9th Lord aspected by 7th Lord.
Yeah, then it is possible, yes.
Yeah, and also 5th, 7th Lord and 5th, both combinations are happening.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a small suspicion about this, Guruji. Is that when we say the 5-7 or 7-9, I would say that it would be should be taken like 50% of the times, not like
maybe.
Reason,
Yes.
The reason being that in the zodiac chart itself, we don't see a particular graha being the owner of just one house, except for Sun and Moon. If you take Venus, he owns 2nd and 7th, and for example, 2nd and 7th of the Kalpurusha. So like that. I mean, so where the Sun Moon is involved, probably we can take it a bit more than 50%. But where it is other grahas involved, it need not necessarily be just the impact of 5-7 or 7-9. It could be the other lordships also coming into play. So that would be diluting this equation a little bit. So probably it would be less than 50% also.
Correct.
Yeah. And even for Mangal Dosh from Lagna, Moon and Venus, most of the times we have to see from Lagna. And if we see the same thing repeating from Moon and from Venus, then we go forward with the stack up.
Exactly.
Right, Guruji? Yeah. If it is not seen, then we just ignore it for the time being.
Yeah.
Now, the center line or the center statement is the one that is, it is mentioned as no marriage. I mean, all along we've been discussing about delay of marriage. But if you read the center line, it says it amounts to no marriage. Now, why am I bringing this up in the delay of marriage discussion? Is because if such a thing happens, then sometimes the marriage will also not go ahead properly. It might actually derail, and that can again cause the person to become to lose the marital status and to become once again a bachelor or a spinster. So if the following are all afflicted, Venus in the 7th house or the 7th Lord or the Lagna Lord, if all of them, Lagna Lord of Navamsha, if all of them are afflicted, then we can say for sure that it really leads to no marriage.
Okay.
It would rather be better if such a person does not marry. And we have seen many charts where the marriage has not taken place even at 40 years of age, and still the question comes up as to when I'm going to get married.
Okay.
To such people, of course, if they are unknown to us, we can say, what is the point of getting married at the age of 40? And especially when we see all the negative factors in the chart. But even then, they keep pestering to tell if there is a possibility or not. And that is where this thing of gochar or transit would come into play. But I don't really strongly believe on the transit effect of planets when the basic charts are not holding the promise. So some astrologers would like to look at the transit and suggest a small window of some possibility happening. Probably there are other factors at play, but on a purely technical note, the transit itself may not be holding that much of a weightage or a promise. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Based on your
experience. One thing I learned from Professor K.S. Krishnamurthy, he says, marriage is usually driven by 11th house, which is the highest desire house, right? Kama house, 3, 7, 11. So only very rarely do you find that the marriage process was not kickstarted by the person's desire to, to get married. So 11th house, when there is so much desire. So when a person comes to you, ask with that question, will I get married? What is the clue? he's already desirous of marriage. So if you can find the smallest clue, maybe this, maybe that, Antardasha is sitting in the 7th house in Navamsha, or the planet Jupiter is transiting in such a way that it is looking at the 7th lord or the 7th house. Any small thing that you can see, you always mention there is a marriage possibility, because he's wanting marriage, as against a person who himself has resigned to, no, I'm not interested in this, I don't want marriage. Then what will happen is, every small fault in the horoscope, everything can be used to say, no, the planets are indicating this, plus the person is also not interested in marriage. I think I told you this in a direct consultation. When I was reading a horoscope, I instantly knew that this person is not going to get married. But he had come along with his mother. So I didn't speak for 15 minutes. I was just preparing on how to deal with it. But at one point, I burst out. And then I asked, are you interested in the marriage in the first place? And he said, no. And then the lady lost her cool and said, wow, how can you say like that? What are we here for? Just to see you ending the Vamsha? You must marry. And there was a huge argument there. And the man said, I don't know. I'm not very confident. Something is there in them which is telling them marriage could be troublesome. Okay, so he's not interested. When he's not interested, maybe you find one more reason, and if you find 12 those factors afflicted, you can say, no, whatever you do, he's not going to get married. It is actually the clue I got was from Professor Krishnamurti, because he said in all the times significant as a marriage, he always uses 2, 7, and 11. Right? Kutumba, marriage, Kama, and desire. 11th. So astrology is looking at, is there a small gap, a window? Is usually, we have to look into it when the person is wanting and then not able to find a match. Okay. Is this the only rule that we are going to discuss for no marriage, or is there something else coming up?
No, Guruji, I brought this up just as one of the
combinations.
Combinations for the delay of marriage. Like once there's a breakup, and again there is a second marriage that's going to come up because of this affliction. People are going to definitely keep this in mind.
Yeah.
And since you mentioned the 3, 7, 11, there's one rule which I forgot to mention here, and that is that in females, especially in a female horoscope, retrograde planets in 3, 7th, and 11th house means that there will be a delay. So the 3, 7, 11 are karma houses, and the retrograde planets there will invite delays. And same thing for the 4th, 8th, and 12th, there will be a delay, especially if it is afflicted. Because 4th, 8th, and 12th from Jupiter, sorry, I need to mention that in a female native's chart, Jupiter is considered as the karaka for spouse or husband, and 4th, 8th, and 12th from Jupiter, there will be a delay. 4th being the natural moksha houses being afflicted from Jupiter. Anyway, these are the rules that are to be taken once you have become proficient with the main rules. And most of the time, the main rules are self-sufficient in the sense that they give you the pointers on why the delay is happening. My most favorite rule would, yes, please go ahead.
No, go on. I just wanted to add, usually Ketu in the 7th with another malefic possibly, would that also deny or break up a marriage consistently if the prominence of Ketu is pretty high, let's say, combining with a Saturn or a Mars?
Here, there is a difference actually between Rahu and Ketu. Rahu is the one who expands everything, or who would like to expand everything or go out of the normal bounds, whereas Ketu would like to prefer not to go into, broadening of his portfolio. In other words, in 7th, the affliction of Ketu is more severe than Rahu in 7th, especially for marriage purpose. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, marriage is Maya and Rahu is Maya. Okay, so Rahu works very well with marriage.
That is
See,
only exception actually.
whereas Ketu is against the concept of marriage, it's detachment, whereas Rahu is for attachment and addictions, right? So Ketu is just the opposite. So Ketu in the 7th is very harmful.
Yeah, but Guruji, there is a desire in those people. They may not end up getting married is one thing, or does it kill the desire as well?
No, maybe we need more, planetary positions in the chart. But Ketu generally is not a. But what will a person do if they have Ketu in the 7th? You can't go and tell them it's not good to have. The person will say, okay, then remove it from here and put it somewhere else.
Like the lady who wanted to pay 5 lakhs to Guruji.
Yeah. So that's not, like we shouldn't use such terms. But what can you do? But I think B.V. Raman and others, they quoted that Ketu in the 7th spells of separation, geographical separation. The husband will go to, a Gulf country and come once in a year or something like that, 1 month, once a year. Or even sometimes, in Kerala, we see after 5 years, they'll come once. It's such a common thing in Kerala.
So it's as good as a no marriage.
It's almost like that, separating. Yeah. Ketu is more of a separating, a separatist. Okay, Ketu. Because it's also spiritual and so on. So.
And so if it comes with Sun there, does it guarantee 100% no success rate?
Yeah, definitely a mess up because it's an eclipse, right? If Sun joins Ketu.
So if both husband and wife has Ketu in 7th, it might be good, isn't it, Guruji?
Why?
Both will go to do prayers to the temple, Guruji.
So there's no question of separation. Okay.
Wherever they go, they'll go together. Even for sannyasi, they would go together to attain Diksha.
They wouldn't be interested. They'd be so self-obsessed with Rahu first.
No, Divyaji, to answer that question of yours, Rahu is the only exception here. Though other malefics in the 7th can cause problems, Rahu in the 7th, being a malefic, is known not to cause problems. In fact, he does the other thing, the other way around. He asks people to get into more relationships.
No, I meant about I have Rahu 7th. I meant about the person with both the husband-wife with Ketu 7th. So they would be superiorly self-obsessed about themselves.
Maybe we can do a research in the future. Guruji definitely would be having a lot of charts like that. Yes, that is just a small bit of humor.
Do we have horoscopes to show and say something?
Yes, Guruji.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for your nod and we can see a few horoscopes.
Yeah.
Can I share one, Kishorji, if that is okay?
Yeah, definitely.
What is the age? What is the age?
31, sir.
31 in today's standard is no big deal.
And a female. She will be 32 soon.
No, I will tell you when you have to break your head on these things is when you've been trying hard for so many years, not just ignoring it. When you try hard and doesn't happen, and there are no other logics for it. What's wrong? The person is looking good. The person is in a very good job. No complaints, doing well. And then nobody is coming forward to marriage. That is karmic in nature. Only then you do a research. If the person, says, I'm not ready to marry, because I want to settle down in my job, I'll take it up later. Then you may not actually find the delay, the combination of a delay in the marriage. It will be just very normal also. It won't be anything abnormal. So please consider this, because when you say karmic, there is so much anxiety and stress in that area. Only then you will see 7th house afflictions. If you see a nice 7th lord in the 7th, and even if you say the person is not yet married, according to me, I feel the person is not yet made up the mind. And as soon as they make up their mind, they'll have a happy marriage. So 7th lord in the 7th.
For this example, I was talking about Guruji, they've been trying for the past 6-7 years.
Okay. If they're genuinely trying, what do we do now, Kishorji? She starts sharing.
I think I have that horoscope which she's talking about, Guruji, and that was one of the horoscopes which had some afflictions, if I remember. Sridevi ji,
Yeah,
we
these
had
blocks,
discussed,
like
right?
one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can
I'll try
share
to pull it
the
up.
timing.
Yeah.
So all of you are on rapt conjunction, is it? You share the horoscopes, all of.
I don't know why, Guruji,
Great.
but it seems to keep propping up for future discussions.
Great sambandha. Is the screen being shared right now?
Yes, Guruji. I'm going to stop the share.
Okay.
I think we can see the slide, right?
I can see your slide now.
Yeah. I'm not stopping it yet because I want to first do a summary before we move on to the horoscope, just to replenish the memory.
I have not been able to see this slide for a long time.
No, I can see.
Me neither. I can't see it.
Why?
I cannot see it.
Neither me. Yeah.
Okay, one sec.
So many complaints, we can't see it.
Now can you see it?
Even I can.
No, it is clearly visible.
Okay.
Now it's visible.
See, the point is that I had gone into something called as a pause share, and after which you people had joined. So that is why that pause share did not come to you.
Okay.
Now it is being shown.
Now it is a live screen share.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is a trick I learned when I was doing my classes. When we do a pause share, then what we shared at that time will become the screen for a long time till we unpause it or till we resume it. And in the meantime, you can minimize the screen. You can do whatever you want, and it doesn't change. Yeah. So that was off topic. Now we'll go to this summary. Before we go to the charts, Sridevi ji. First thing, please remember, we look at the dignity of Venus. And by dignity, I think you know all the parameters which enhance the dignity and reduce the dignity. I will not go into those technical details. 7th house and 7th lord dignity. 8th house, 8th lord. 12th house, 12th lord. 5th house, 5th lord. 2nd house, 2nd lord. Now, surprise, the 5th house and 5th lord for Putra Dosha seems to be coming up strongly in the research as one of the contenders for delay in marriage. The dignity or the affliction to the 5th house and 5th lord seems to be coming as a strong contender for delay in marriage.
Why?
That is the summary that was given in the end of the book. And from the parameter tables, from the result tables, we see that 84% of the delayed marriages had this affliction to the 5th house.
It is because children have to be delayed or denied. So marriage is usually the root. So if there is Putra Dosha, the next objective of karma is to first not allow the marriage in the first place.
Or delay it so that they suffer.
Yeah, delay. Yeah. Okay. That's the logic behind that.
So can that be rectified 100%?
By reversing the bad karma that was done. So they will have to prove the point by saying, I'll go to the orphanage so often, I'll take care of orphan children, I'll do a lot of things towards children and reverse the bad karma. In which case they always are able to. Even I think last week I had a consultation. They just came to thank me because they did all the remedies, and after so many years of no children, despite doctors, all attempts failed. But when they did the remedy, now they're blessed. They showed me the child in the on the camera. So and they said, thank you so much. All the knowledge you gave us helped us. I said it's all because of the ancient rishis who taught us to find out the problem in the first place. So, but what we normally do is something, like in India, I think they do Putra Kameshti Yajna and, the big ones. But the easiest way, taking the clue from 5th Lord in the 6th, Maharishi Parashara mentioning adopt a child. And sometimes I saw, after so many years of no children, the couple had adopted a child. And I mean, so if you look at basically astrology, the way it is, it's not actually all the time prediction. It is sometimes correction, right? It's a suggestion which people fail to notice. When something is said, like for example, if sun is in the 9th, you will be a devotee of the sun god. It's actually a suggestion, because sometimes you are already, some people are naturally attracted to looking at the sun and praying, which happens. But if they're not, we tell them, why don't you get started like that? So for 5th Lord in the 6th house, you have to spend money to get a child. So they start with infertility specialist. They spend a lot of money, a very expensive treatment. And then finally, sometimes, in those days, I think when Maharishi says purchase a child, is in those days, I think they gave money and got the child. for some reason. Okay. So the remedies are only karma changing, maybe a little bit. I think I had an experience once a long time back of a couple being told by my a friend of mine who was also studying astrology along with me. He's also an astrologer now. He said, Dhilip sir, I can actually change this. But in those days, I was not so keen on remedies. I said, you will not have a child in this life. Okay. I was, like I was just quoting the books. And he said, no, it's not like that. We can do certain remedies. And so he gave them a long list of things to do. And it surprised me because in less than 3 months, the lady conceived. Okay. But the strange bad luck was, after the conception happened, both the people, both the husband and wife, together said, there is no God and all this is just made up. It's just like they use they quoted some Tamil line saying, it's just a fluke, it's not real, just happened. We are not going to give any credit to this. And they stopped doing the remedies. Okay. They stopped doing the remedies. Then my friend said, see, Dhilip sir, I proved it. When you do remedies, it changes. I said, nice. I was actually very happy about it. But when they stopped, we used to discuss, in the discussion I said, that means something is going to happen to the conception. Something else is going to happen. That's why they're stopping now. But the pregnancy went right through the months, but the child was born, stillborn, was dead at the time of birth. So, unless you know the essence of karma as a prashchit, a repentance, I'm sorry, I'm now a very different person. I believe in God. I believe in all these things. I want to be a nice person. Let me go to the orphanage, and so on. Only then all this karma can be changed. And you don't know till the very last moment what will happen, right? So, fifth lord in the sixth, I found highest occurrences of autism if the child is born. So, the point is, if there is a severe fifth house affliction, I tell people, go to the orphanage first and then do the marriage remedies. Okay? Because the root might be that it wants to keep the person childless and therefore no marriage. So start working on both at the same time.
Okay, so that means then this is also of prime signification, right, Guruji?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, in my experience, I've seen, I always look at the Saptamsa immediately after I notice some problem with the fifth house natural way of reading a chart, right? Jupiter, from Lagna, everything. You find too many things going on. Then immediately turn the page, Saptamsa, Lagna Lord in sixth, ninth house having malefics. I've concluded. And then I look at the Sarvashavarga and see very low score in the fifth house. I know it's actually to keep the person childless. That it will even spoil the marriage. Okay.
So we'll have to give that an importance then.
See, but ultimately, when you talk to them, you will understand what they are. Okay. There are people who have come to me and they have never done any remedies. Right? They don't do it at all. They don't believe in it. And they're very, almost like skeptical, what do you say? Agnostic. God is there, God is not there. I'm not sure, I don't know. These kind of things. So, anyway, I'm sure students here, some of you might be having some questions. Why don't you use this time to ask the question? I think Jyotish Kazi has raised his hand. Yes, Jyotish.
Yes, Dhilipji. Just wanted to actually add a little bit of, my perspectives to this slide. Kishorji, very, very, very good discussion. Excellent points here.
Thank you, Kasi.
Just wanted to add a couple of things. See, the way I'm looking at, when you look at marriage, right? Ultimately, in a broader sense, it is a relationship, right? And the way generally I look at relationship, is, if you look at it like a spectrum, it's a combination of what we call as karma, and then the other end is vasana, right? The passion. I think that when you're skewed towards one of these, right, a sustainable marriage or even the happening of marriage always becomes a challenge. Like when there is excess of passion, but there is no promised karma in the horoscope, right? So it becomes a problem, and similarly the other way around. So how do you really examine? The way normally I do is that I look at it from three different angles. Much of it you have mentioned, but one thing I would like to highlight is, I look at even the lagna and the lagna lord when it comes to marriage, because lagna lord is as important as anybody, right? Because what are you talking about? You're talking about marriage of the self, right? So I think this 1-7 combination is also probably quite important, because it brings out the passion in the self, And ironically, when you look at the way Maharishis have given us or this whole horoscope, you will never find the Lord of First to be friendly with Lord of Seventh in no horoscope, right? Either they are neutral or they are enemies. So we have work to do. So 1-7 is something that I look at it, as one of the first priority. The second one, as you rightly pointed out, the Venus Moon combination is obviously very important. Venus talks all about harmony and love. Moon is all about nourishing family and emotions, right? So that combination is important. But the third, which is very important also, I think you touched on a couple of things on that. One is, what are the grahas that really, or the relationship laggards, or those that affect relationship more or less in an adverse way, right? I think the two important grahas are Saturn, as you mentioned a few times, and I did not find the mention of Mercury. I think Mercury is also very important when it comes to lagging in a relationship. Why? Because Saturn, we all know, we have already spoken about. Mercury, basically by nature, it is childish. More importantly, Mercury is a karaka for multiplicity, duality, changeability, a lack of commitment, and also it's a neuter planet, just like Saturn. So just wanted to kind of give my couple of comments on this, but I hope it makes sense, what I said.
Yes, Kasiji, there is a particular rule which I did not mention, and in fact there are quite a few rules which I have not mentioned, because I wanted this to be like a more broader picture, and then once people are equipped with this, then it is for the individual astrologer to go deeper into the nuances of these things. What you mentioned is also there as one of the rules. It says Saturn Mercury conjunct when Mercury is retrograde. This is for female charts we are talking about. So I think your observation or the keen eye detected that, and that rule I have not mentioned. In fact, there are other rules also, which I felt to be better left for the individual astrologer to pursue at his time. So these are the broad ones, the ones that are impactful. The others are, of course, stack-ups. But as we say, there's a grading happening in the stack-ups also. It's one of the reasons. And I was just mentioning this Punarphu Dosha coming up in many of my charts. What I find is that when you, as an observer, as an astrologer, when you look at charts with something in mind, you tend to see that more prominently. So that is the reason why the more and more rules immediately start applying it in the charts. And once you get a feel of it in the chart and you start understanding the equation, as to what is happening in the chart and what is happening in the life of the native, then in the future observations, you will be having a faster grasp of the chart, what it's trying to tell. Whenever we see a chart, we always ask the question, in Tamil we say, chart katta enna solludu. So that means what is the chart telling us? So that telling happens when you keep looking at charts frequently. And with more and more weapons added to your armory. So as you mentioned, Kasiji, that is mentioned, but it is not given today specifically for this reason, because I think it is also catering to beginners in the class. So yes, definitely. I will give full credit for that. And thank you for your observation and the compliments, Kasiji. So Guruji, shall we look at one or two charts?
Yeah, before that, I just want to say another angle of saying looking at the no marriage within quotes is that sometimes the person will have a lifestyle of frequently experiencing marriage without the marriage. So that would be a kind of a confusion for astrologers like us. I hope you understood what I said, right?
You mean to say it is when he is going...
No. See, I know of a man who's now almost 70, but he has, every 2-3 years he changes his partner, but he's not married. Okay? And I think so many years he has been like that. He's 70. I had the opportunity of seeing his chart, so it never went to my office. He showed it to me directly. There are some friends' connections. And I was actually curious to see what kind of... I found no afflictions at all in his horoscope. That is very strange. And there was no sadness also in this relationship. He somehow managed to have all of them in the best way possible. There was no complaints, going to court or police station, or nothing happened. So
that is mentioned in Bhrigu Sutram, right, Guruji? He will have many females. Or
yeah, so that's what. So there's no marriage, but to the society is without marriage, right? Yeah, from the point of view of so he's been always posing like that. I'm a bachelor. Okay, I'm unmarried. So you might come across horoscopes in your collections that actually there's no marriage, but he might be having a lot of marriages in his life. That's also a possibility.
Yeah, the sad thing is that we will not know whether it is true or false, because nobody will say the truth,
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Now, some people, when they say the truth, you can see in the chart that it's somehow not showing afflictions.
Best way is to look into our own charts.
So when is the sharing of the horoscope?
Yeah, we're going to do it now, Guruji. Yeah. So
is it that the students are going to show some horoscope, or it's only you're going to show the horoscope?
I've kept some charts ready, but let's see if time permits. We'll go quickly through the discussion, because we know the basic gist of what is happening in today's discussion. So, and if anybody wants to really interested in doing it, please let me know. I'll give this. I'll pause my screen share.
Okay.
So while we are doing this, let me pause my screen share and enable.
Oh, thank you, Jyotish. I think he's leaving. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Kasiji.
Oh, you call him Kashiji. Okay. Fine. So we'll start. In between Deepak and 7th Lord in the 11th house. What was that question for? I think it was for multiple relationship.
Okay. Multiple relationship, yeah.
Okay.
So who would like to start off with the observation and what's happening in the chart?
Can you have the complete horoscope.
This is the D1. On the top, we have the South Indian charts. D1 in color.
Correct.
Eastman color. Eastman color in those days they used to say. And in the right side, we have the Navamsh. The same thing goes for the bottom.
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, the simplest way to reveal the charts. You have D1 on left hand side. You have divisional charts on right hand side. If you say I want to see Saptamsa, the click of a button, it's going to be changed, right? Okay.
Yes, I don't think people would want to go beyond Navamsha, because I have not mentioned other Vargas today.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Moon Venus connection.
Moon Venus looking at each other.
Saturn aspecting Venus.
Second Lord combust.
Saturn aspecting Venus. Yeah. Okay.
Seventh Lord close to Rahu.
Second and ninth Lord combust.
Second and ninth combust. Yes, that's a big reason actually, because I forgot to mention this affliction to the ninth house, but ninth is also important. Yeah. Second house of again, as you mentioned. There was one person's comment I forgot. Is it? Somebody mentioned something.
Double combinations of Venus Moon. In the other one, Venus Moon is together, and here Venus Moon aspect.
No, we are looking at conjunction. Remember, Guruji mentioned there's a distinction between conjunction
No,
and aspect.
she's saying, Kishorji, Divya is saying, Venus Moon conjunction in D9 chart in the 7th house.
Oh, you mentioned D9. Okay.
Yeah, she's mentioning D9.
Okay. Good.
And also Venus Moon is looking at the Lagna chart, so there's too much Venus Moon energy with this
Okay, so my suggestion to all my friends here is to go along in the path in which the slide was presented. So Venus dignity, shall we give a tick mark?
No, yeah.
Okay, then we go to the 7th house. The 7th house is afflicted.
7th house is okay.
Mars is
I don't
aspecting it.
think. Yeah, no, actually it is afflicted with Rahu, even though they both are in different houses.
To my,
You mean
to
the
my
Lord?
eyes, just because Kishorji has added UL, what catches my attention is the eclipse on UL.
Yes. And Mars also, along with Rahu.
Yeah, so there's severe affliction on UL.
Kishorji, one point here. People are saying Moon Venus affliction, but Jupiter is aspecting. The point was mentioned when there is no Jupiter aspect. That was the point was discussed. So Moon Venus.
1 second, Parameshji. Here, the aspect is mentioned, whereas I had mentioned the conjunction. So there's a small deviation in that rule itself.
Okay.
That itself is different. So we are not looking into that part of it. Maybe we can see it if it is replicating again and again. Then we will take even the aspect of Moon Venus. But I don't think aspect of Moon Venus would be that big because conjunction is more important according to Guruji. So yeah. So I think basically we are seeing. Go ahead.
Kishorji, we have the moon here and Saturn sign aspected by Mars, so it's one of dislike marriage or delay of marriage.
Moon is in the sign of Saturn.
Moon is in the sign of Saturn aspected by Mars.
Okay.
And another affliction that was not there in that slide is like 12th Lord in 8th house, Kishorji. And I know like it is exalted.
There. See, the point is I have not given the rules for the dignity of the house. That is for the astrologers to use, because by now all the astrologers are equipped to see the dignity. Then that will become a big long presentation as to what is the meaning of dignity. So dignity here is when the lords go into dusthanas, right? That is again an affliction to the dignity.
Right. One of the biggest thing is like 12th Lord in 8th house here. Another biggest thing.
Okay. And we have Saturn in the 8th.
Yeah.
Okay. That is another affliction, and retrograde, by the way. Then we look at the 2nd house, 2nd Lord. Is there any affliction? 2nd house is aspected by Saturn. And 2nd Lord is with
Rahu.
Sun and Rahu. Yeah. So.
Can you say 2nd Lord is in Papakatri?
Depends on the degree then, if we were to see what degree they're coming.
Yeah, Mars, this side is with Rahu and the Sun on the other side.
Yes, you can.
But to say that, don't we have to see if it's getting sandwiched?
Yeah, that is why Rahu is having 0.49, 1 degree, and Sun is 12 degrees, and then Mars is in between, in 5 degrees. Yeah.
And is it safe to say the person has a bit of a temper and ego and all of that with Rahu Mars?
No, we are not going into that aspect. We are going only into the delay of marriage aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, please stick to the topic. Let us go to the next chart. Pause. Because if you go into that line, then people will want to discuss the chart fully. And
Kishorji, 1 minute.
Yes, Guruji.
This is my personal theory, okay, based on years of watching. This horoscope, the person may not get married.
May not get married. Okay.
Will remain unmarried. I found whenever the UL was severely afflicted and then the 12th Lord went to the 8th house, because 12th house is so important. The 12th Lord in the 8th, in this case, maybe you can say it's exalted, but in spite of that, the 12th Lord in the 8th is one of the highest occurrences for no marriage. This is my own research, okay? May not be substantiated so much, but I always looked for first some basic afflictions in the chart, and then on top of that, if I see 12th Lord in the 8th, I will go to the extent of saying, looks like you may not get married, and even I'll ask them, I'll have a one-to-one discussion with them, asking their opinion about the concept of marriage, and they'll say something. I'm not very sure. I'm not so keen. I don't know, but my parents are asking me to get married. I want to be alone. Those kind of things. If somebody knows this person, ask them, are you really interested in marriage? But even if it's interested, it may be that, based on my statistics, I would say that just because I saw the 12th Lord in the 8th house, I have so many horoscopes with me. They have never got married. But they tried and tried also. Not necessarily they didn't try. Okay.
Another factor is this retrograde of Jupiter, Guruji, that usually throws a glitch in the timing of marriage.
Okay.
Yeah, it's another observation by other astrologers, but
Okay.
It's not mentioned in the classics, at least not that I know of. Let's go to the next chart.
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah.
So, it's Ashish here. Will we say the same if the 8th is in 12th?
No. I only said 12th Lord in the 8th.
Right. Okay.
So this is another natives chart which is coming up for a delayed marriage. In fact, Guruji, the previous chart, the age of the native was by now would have been 23 plus 17, 40 years.
Male or female, Kishorji?
This is female. 1985, 15 plus 23. We see affliction to the second house right away.
Yes.
First
We'll
Lord
go
in 12th,
we'll
seventh
go in
Lord
a
in 12th.
clockwise direction. We'll go in a clockwise direction. So starting from second, then we go to the fifth.
Seventh house,
Then seventh house.
debilitated.
Yeah.
7th Lord in 5th.
Seventh Lord debilitated.
7th Lord in 5th, debilitated.
We can say 5th Lord is along with Ketu.
And the fifth house is aspected by Mars and Sun.
5th house and 5th Lord also.
Oh, and one more thing I forgot before we go deeper is that please look at the degrees of the grahas, because the more closer they are in orbital closeness, then the impact will be even more. For example, you look at the Bhava Madhya. Yeah.
In
Second from
Navamsha,
UL is afflicted.
Second from
UL dispositor Mercury is in 12th retrograde.
Good.
Mercury is in 11th.
Mercury in the 11th Bhava. But in Navamsha, the Lord of the 7th is in the 12th. 7th Lord in 12th.
Along with the 9th Lord.
Yeah. But at least the
And
7th
again-
Lord in the 12th.
Again, Jupiter retrograde, Guruji.
And Lagna Lord
Again,
afflicted by Mars, Rahu, Ketu.
Wonderful.
Again, 7th, 9th connection, Guruji, just like you mentioned in Navamsa.
Is it male or female?
Female, Guruji.
Female, okay.
Does anybody have any chart you'd like to throw that for discussion, or shall I proceed?
I can share, Kishorji.
Okay. Okay, I'll stop the screen share. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Is it the one that is that you sent in the text in the chat sometime back?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. If you would like to, or would you like to share, Kishorji? I don't think I can.
Why you don't have the sharing?
I do. Yeah, can you guys see my screen?
Now we can
Yes.
do it.
This is the one earlier, like I was talking about, Guruji. Venus and Moon conjunction in second house.
Oh,
And the connection of seventh lord and ninth lord.
this is a person you said she is trying for marriage.
Right, right.
Okay.
A female chap,
And,
Guruji.
and also we see the seventh lord in the ninth with Ketu, in the Rahu Ketu axis.
Right.
And Saturn and Moon star, Moon and Saturn star.
Oh wow. Sampaji Punarphu Dosham.
Kishorji.
Guruji, do we need to consider about like Upapada Lagna having Saturn even though it is in own house?
See, I think in own house it's not such a headache, right? Because there's an opening sloka in Upapada that if the Lord is in its own house, it's an advantage.
Okay. So can we say like she is going to get married but late?
No, also look at the Navamsha, Sri Deviji, because we have not still covered the entire
Ninth lord,
set
yeah,
of
seventh
factors.
lord, 12th house.
Yeah.
There's a initial problem because Navamsha 7th Lord is in the 12th. Okay.
And Saturn aspecting the 7th house in Navamsha.
Saturn aspecting the 7th. Okay. Lagna Lord in 5th house with Saturn, but I think main reason is 7th Lord in the
12th
house.
No, we can look at the dasha the person is getting, right? Must be in Mercury now or
Ketu, Guruji.
Ketu. Oh.
Ketu is again afflicting the 9th house, Guruji.
Ketu holds on to the 9th. In both Bhava chart and in Bhava chart it goes to 8th. Equal house, right? Ketu goes to 8th in D1. That's actually a trouble.
But in Navamsha it is again in the 9th.
Correct. Rashi and Navamsha, okay.
In the 12th in Navamsha is aspected by Mars. 12th Lord is afflicted by Mars, and 12th house is also afflicted by Mars in Navamsha.
If you can show the aspect table, just look at the aspect table for always two things. One, the 7th Lord being aspected by whom, and 7th house aspected by whom. So that will always give a clue. If Saturn aspects the most or malefics aspect the most the 7th house, then the marriage will be delayed. This is the very basic rule that works all the time. 7th house aspect by malefics. Can you make it bigger or is this the only size? Okay, because yeah.
7th house is having Sun's aspect 96 and Jupiter aspecting 80, and apart from that 77 by Saturn.
77 by Saturn, correct? 96, 77.
96, 80, 77.
Yeah, 80 we have Jupiter, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then now go to who's looking at Mars?
Rahu, Guruji.
Saturn is aspecting Mars 100%.
No. Saturn is not aspecting Mars 100%.
Rahu is aspecting 77.
Mars is aspecting Saturn 100%.
Oh, the other way around.
Yeah, it is in Jehora, it is from here to there. Okay.
Opposite to Sri Jyoti.
Yeah, opposite to Sri Jyoti. So it is 77 on Mars. So Sun in the 7th. Sun in Lagna, right? So that's the reason why Sun is looking.
Guruji.
Yeah. Do you know her personally?
Yes, Guruji.
What is her opinion about the male?
I think she initially she said like she doesn't want it to marry, but now like she's ready to marry. I don't know the reasons behind like why she doesn't want it to marry, but I think like she's ready now.
Because Saturn, okay, I want to tell you one thing. In Bhrigu Sutram, Saturn in 7th is, the opening line is what? Late marriage, right? So, when Kishorji showed the slide that a Saturn-Sun opposition can create a problem, I was actually keeping this in mind also, but I didn't convey it at that time. That in the Sun's influence on the 7th house, Bhrigu Sutram somehow says Sun in the 7th is late marriage. I always give a lot of importance to the first word on anything. He says, he starts up by saying late marriage. In fact, I did see a lot of late marriages with Sun in the 7th. So when Sun aspects the 7th, and this Sun is quite angry, right? Because it is debilitated. Can you move the screen to, the aspect table slightly this side, or is it not possible? No, you can't.
Here also Saturn is aspecting Sun, Guruji.
Oh. Pardon me?
Here also Saturn is aspecting Sun by 10th aspect. Not only is it debilitated, it is also aspected by Saturn.
Oh.
In D1.
Okay. You will have to, maybe she's a little upset, maybe she's not very comfortable with the male.
Jupiter in 12th also shows spiritual, no, Guru, sir?
7th Lord, no, it's not 7th, it's 6th Lord. 3rd and 6th Lord.
Jupiter has 3rd and 6th Lord in 12th, in the Bhava chart also. Something very peculiar has happened because of the shift of Rahu and Ketu over the 2-8 axis. So look at the second house. You have Rahu there, Moon, Venus, Mercury. That's trying to say something, right? Many planets on 2.
Rahu, Venus.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Guruji, even in this chart, like all previous chart, always 12 from Venus, it's afflicted. 12 from Venus also can delay marriage. If the 12 from Venus is afflicted, the house 12 from Venus, here we have Sun debilitated, aspected by Saturn. 9 from Venus also has Mars and Ketu. So one of the indication also for delay marriage that 12 from Venus is afflicted by more than 1 malefic, 2 malefic, aspecting 12 from Venus can be signed for delay for marriage.
We can add that, yeah.
Yeah, because it was mentioned, right? We had to see from the Venus also. So
how close is Ketu and Mars?
They are separate, Guruji. They are
separate.
not like that close.
They're not very close. Okay.
No. Ketu is
Ketu
27 degrees. Ketu is 0 degrees.
Oh.
And Mars is 27.
Very far away.
Even here, Ketu is a second pole lord, and being in Sandhi, that is also another aspect, another point that we need to note, the dignity of the second pole lord.
If you use Nadi ideas, the lord of the star lord of Mars, which is actually Jupiter, Mars is sitting in Punarphu, and that Jupiter is sitting in 12th house. So there is a 12th house, a connection to Mars through nakshatra.
12-9.
Yeah.
And Mars is aspecting the 12th house also, aspecting Jupiter also.
Oh, we didn't see that, right? Can you show the aspect table again to look at the 12th house afflictions? Mars. Only malefics. 69, 52, 12, 62. No Shubhagraha, but the Shubhagraha is occupying it, right? So some ray of hope is there. Please use one more rule in marriage. The 12th
So
Lord.
currently she is going through Ketu Dasha, Guruji.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. The 12th house Lord not in Kendra is also a kind of a minus. The 12th Lord not in Kendra. Okay.
Can we say even Trikona, Guruji, or that is not?
No. I have found this rule helping me a lot. The 12th Lord not in Kendra.
It shows delay, sir, or no marriage.
It's a hint. It's a starting hint that it's not necessary that marriage has to happen. If you see somebody having the 12th Lord in the Kendra, it's like saying, no, I don't know. Somehow there must be a marriage. There must be a marriage like that. Okay. And if it is not, we say, I have this way of communicating. You reserve the right not to be married. I mean, if they choose not to be married, they can remain unmarried. But if the 7th Lord is in a Kendra, okay, and anyway, the 7th Lord in the 7th, which is again a Kendra, it's an assurance for marriage. So, like that, 12th Lord not in Kendra, 12th Lord in Kendra, both you can take it.
And one more rule you mentioned today was 12th Lord in the 8th.
Yeah, 12th Lord in the 8th is a denial. I mean, that is not there in this chart.
Yeah.
And
even
last
in this chart of Babada Lagna, Saturn, there and aspected by Mars as well. Babada Lagna has Saturn.
Okay. Mars
and aspected by
aspecting
Mars.
aspecting Lord of Upapada and Upapada. Okay, that's on one point.
Sridevi ji, can you move the aspect table? We are not able to see the chart.
Can you see it now?
We can see it now.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, perfect. Guruji, I have not mentioned or brought in the Ashtakavarga because that will become too complicated again. Okay.
These are all stack up. One more reason. Like that.
So even one more thing, it's Dara Karaka aspected in Navamsha by Rahu. Even one more rule, if the Dara Karaka it's aspected by Rahu, can delay the marriage. Here also, Dara Karaka is Mercury, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, Mercury aspected by Rahu. In Navamsha.
Oh, in Navamsha. Okay.
And one more important point which nobody discussed is the 5th house affliction. So here we see the 5th Lord aspected by Mars and the 5th house inhabited by
No, what I see first.
In Navamsha, 5th house is inhabited by Saturn Mars. In D1, Saturn is afflicted by Mars.
In Saptamsa, the Lord of the 5th house of children is in the 8th.
I didn't go to Saptamsa.
In D7, yeah.
Yeah. No, but we have a promise here because Jupiter is in the 5th. So maybe Putra Dosha is not too strong.
Yeah, maybe there's a delay and she can get married.
Because Venus in the 8th is also actually good in certain aspects, but we see Jupiter in 5th and that is, like holding the blemish from becoming too severe.
But the problem now we face is because of Ketu. Because this person has entered Ketu Mahadasha. And Ketu's position is very bad in all the relevant charts. He is badly placed in the Bhava chart in 8th. In Saptamsa, he is placed in 6th house. So somehow...
With the 9th Lord in 6th house.
Yeah, 9th Lord in 6th. It's trying to say something. Anyway, what's the age of the person?
32, Guruji.
32.
She will be 32 soon.
Okay. 32. No, it will be more than that. No, less than. Less than 32.
32. No, Guruji. 31. October 28th, 1992.
Yeah.
So 2022, she completed 30. So she will be 31 soon.
She will become 32 in 2 months' time.
31, Kishorji. Completes 31.
Yeah, you're right. My bad.
Okay.
What is the community of the person? Is she South Indian, Telugu,
South Indian.
Tamil?
South Indian Telugu.
So I think the consideration should be on the community as well, because usually in the Telugu community, 30 for a girl is delay in marriage a lot.
That's when the alarm bells start ringing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it changes.
I think that's true anywhere in India, right?
Yes, even in
Actually,
North
for a
India,
female is
30
like it
very
is
late.
late.
The
Regardless of the
extremes.
place.
Luckily, they don't have a Kuja dosha.
Here I want to mention one point. If the native, like the native is living abroad, so still we have to Desh Kalpaka, we have to consider that one, because in US or in Western countries, like especially in US, nowadays people are tending to get lately married, like over 30 years, 35 years. I will see some of the cases.
Yeah, this person is not in abroad.
No, Parmeshi, there is another difference here, because even if you go abroad, your parents will still be worrying about you, right? If by the time you're 35 and the child, and they will say, my son is not married or my daughter is not married, definitely that fear will be there.
Yeah, you're right.
Can we say in Venus Mahadasha chances are better compared to now?
Oh, that we can't take, right? Because it's
He will
so.
be 35 then.
Yeah, it'll be too much of delay. Then Venus. When you say Venus
So
comes.
how about any hope in Ketu Jupiter Guruji in April next year?
What basis? In D7, at least Jupiter is in Swakshetra, right? Is there a Ketu Jupiter connection? No, Ketu Jupiter.
D9.
In D9.
Jupiter occupied second house, Guruji.
I saw that, but in D9, Ketu versus Jupiter, they are in 6/8. A disconnect.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not very strong. The problem is that they should have tried for marriage even before Ketu, because Ketu is going to mess up. Because Ketu doubles up as the second lord, right? Because co-lord of Scorpio becomes second lord of Kutumba in the 8th house. But I'm thinking about that there is something we can use. Some other Antardasha, can we try? Maybe DK is what? Mercury, is it in this?
Yes,
Who was that?
Guruji.
DK? Mercury. Can we just have a look at Charadasha? KN Rao's? And hopefully some connection with
You have to go back to Vimshotri Dasha, Sri Deviji, and click on options and click on
Correct. Yeah. Vimshotri, right click, is it? No, here down. Rashi Dashas, bottom. Go down, completely go down to almost the lowest point. You have no, not there. Come down. No.
I did that, Guruji.
Yeah.
Rasi Dasas?
Nakshatra.
You have to click on options.
Options, is it? No, right click and see.
Right click also will give you the options.
Okay. Just right click there on anywhere on the screen.
Charadasha KN Rao.
Charadasha KN Rao. Down. Little more. No, go down. No, up. Charadasha Rangacharya and then KN Rao. Click that. She's crossed. Where is Dharakarga is Mercury, right? Confirmed?
Yes, Guruji.
So in that, the person is going now through Pisces. Any connection with Pisces to any of this what we are talking? Aries is when? The 7th house from Lagna. Starting 2028. My God. Okay, so Pisces is disconnected. Pisces has no connection with Dharakaraka. Because Pisces is a common sign. How do you connect it? So Charadasha is not giving any clue. Okay, common sense. So far, why didn't the marriage happen? Forget astrology for a moment.
Can I ask a question in this regard, Guruji?
Yes.
If she was preferring, or she was looking, or she wants somebody from different culture previously, or somebody abroad, or something like this?
No, no, Mardini.
Okay, thank you.
I think you are hinting at Rahu Ketu connection with the 7th Lord, right? Mardini ji?
Yes, and yeah, Bhava Charita chart also Rahu with the moon and Venus.
Okay, okay. I think we'll drop Charadasa because it's not very encouraging.
How can I go back?
You just
Guruji?
click on Nakshatra Dasha. Bottom, completely bottom. Not anywhere there.
The tab, the bottom tab, you know,
tab
it
at the
says
bottom.
Nakshatra.
Oh, yeah.
Click on that.
Yes. Okay. From 2020, when Ketu Mahadasha start, was there a situation where a guy came forward and said, I want to marry you, something? Was there even one incident?
That I don't know, Guruji.
Okay.
But she has a younger sister, and she is also like turning like 25 soon. So her parents are like really worried, like, you know, if she is not going to get married, like what should we do with the other girl?
Sir, can you explain why you asked about the 2022, 2020, that Ketu?
It is just to prove the point that Ketu is so much keeping her off the marriage.
I will check with them,
Yeah.
Guruji, and I will get back to you in the next class.
Because if a man comes forward, something is in momentum, right? If there is a blank, nobody has come forward, then only it's just proving the point of delayed marriage or afflictions. So much affliction that not even a person has come forward. But the hope here is the Upapada Lagna Saturn. There's something, the Lord of Upapada is sitting in the same place. Swakshetra.
The hope is like she is going to get married, Guruji.
Yeah, it's not denial. I don't think it's denial. She'll get married.
Okay.
In fact, I would go so far to say that she would definitely get married in the Ketu Mahadasha itself. It can be any of those grahas in the Bhava Chalit chart. If you look at Rahu and Ketu, they have shifted to 2-8. So when you see Ketu aspecting the second house, which is having Mercury, Venus, Moon. See, but remember we discussed
Okay,
one
in that
important
case,
rule.
If we use that idea, we can say Ketu Saturn.
No, there was one rule which was in the slide, Guruji. It was not talked about because I passed it off completely. I mean, quite fast. It was a rule given by K N Ravji, or I think it was Mark Boni, that Rahu Venus Rahu tends to give Saturn the marital status.
No, that's a very ancient idea. It's not anywhere coming from.
Okay. So in that case, then can we say this Rahu Venus conjunction in Bhava Chalit chart for Dasha Bhukti point of view alone? We can say that Ketu aspecting the second house, which has Rahu and Venus conjunct, we can say that it gives a chance to get married in either Rahu Bhukti or I think Venus is completed. Yeah. So Rahu Bhukti 2023, 2024. If you look at that, I think there's a possibility.
And another thing is next year she'll have a favorable Guru transit, 7th from her moon. So maybe that will help.
7th. Oh, okay. That's again the same thing, right?
No. He's saying when Jupiter comes to Taurus, from there you look at the second house. That's what.
Yeah, that is another stack up for this Bhukti which I discussed, Guruji.
Okay,
this Rahu Bhukti. So Rahu Bhukti seems to be benefiting with Jupiter's aspect on it.
Okay.
And also Jupiter will be aspecting the natal Jupiter from Taurus.
Got it.
And natal Saturn.
Okay, I think time is running out. People have started leaving because I think it's too late. Okay, so shall we stop?
Yes, Guruji.
Okay.
Thank you, Guruji.
Okay. Now, before signing off, all of you, I have a suggestion. Can we set up with our network of connections, people who are trying to get married, and we are helping them. They can also come in. We can kind of counsel them on a possible marriage. Two people can ask questions. Is that possible? Like, can we do it as a kind of help to human beings?
Sure, Guruji.
Why don't we consider some other time for that? Like maybe a little bit Indian Sunday mornings. Some 10 of us are always there in the meeting. We can spread the word around and say, like, this girl is waiting for marriage. Is there a possible suitor amongst your network? Something like that.
Definitely, Guruji.
I mean, this idea just came to me all on a sudden. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I have like another chart. Like, if that is okay, she's 35 and she is like really desperate to get married, Guruji.
35.
And yeah.
Okay, 35. Okay, you show that chart. 35. 35 will be like, so.
Yeah, this is really afflicted, Guruji.
Yeah, it will be very much afflicted.
Is that the chart, Sridevi? Oh.
Yeah.
Seventh Lord in 6th.
Sun Saturn in.
Seventh Lord in 6th.
7th in 6th, Sun and Saturn conjunction in 7th house, Guruji.
So Sun Saturn.
But the only thing is 7th Lord in 7th house in Navamsha.
No, in the 7th house, Sun is there. Sun in the 7th, late marriage.
Fifth Lord in 7th. Fifth Lord also in 7th.
Fifth Lord in 7th. Okay.
Seventh Lord in 7th, Guruji.
See Putra Dosha from both the Rashi and the Navamsha.
Ketu in 5th house.
Ketu in 5th and Navamsha, it has Rahu in the 5th. Guruji.
Oh.
Saturn moved to 8th.
You know this person, please ask them to do Naga Pratishtha.
I mentioned them, Guruji, already.
Have they done it?
I don't think so.
Oh.
In Rashi, Jupiter is with Rahu, and in Navamsha, Jupiter is with Ketu.
Guru Chandali Yoga.
And Jupiter is also retrograde. So, again, the timing of marriage will be delayed.
Venus in 7th in Navamsa.
Yeah, that is like 7th Lord in 7th, right? Like, is this denial or only delayed?
You say this Karako Bhavanashi is there, but then this Venus is in own house, aspected by Jupiter. So, Sampaji, there is a little bit of correction there. I mean, that Banga is there.
Yeah, it's a stack up. That's it.
Yeah. No, it's having the aspect of Jupiter. So, there's another positive point, actually.
In a power chart, is that Mercury is in 8th house or 7th house?
It is in 7th.
In power chart also.
Yeah.
Sun
remains.
Bhava chart, in Bhava chart, we see Saturn, Venus in the 8th.
Here again, 12th Lord not in Kendra.
In Rashi chart, right?
Bhava chart. Of course, Rashi
and
Bhava,
both like
both Mars is written in the same place. 12th Lord not in Kendra. 12th Lord in Dushtana is also a minus on marriage. 12th Lord in 6, 8 and 12, of which I found that the 8th was so frequently occurring in no marriage.
This is also like a female chart, Guruji, because Kishorji wanted to discuss about female unmarried ones.
Okay.
So I'm wondering like if she is going to really get married because she is 35.
What is the current dasha?
What is the dasha?
Current dasha, Venus, if I am right.
Yeah, Ketu got over. Yeah.
Yeah, Venus, Guruji.
Correct.
Remember from the first slide that we have to look at the dignity of Venus here. And dignity of Venus is that it is in the 8th for the native. Yeah.
Correct.
Then we look at the dignity of the 7th house and 7th lord. And 7th house has Saturn and Sun together. Two of the heavyweight.
Actually, Saturn combust.
Oh, okay.
Gandanta.
So that is combust, Gandanta, and it's also the Yoga Karak.
Saturn combust, and also we can say 5th lord also combust.
Combust Yoga, and from 12 are from Venus.
Most of the points that we discussed in the slide today seem to be coming in this chart. The 5th, the Putra Dosha, the condition of Venus, the condition of the 7th house, condition of the 8th house.
The number of points for the marriage is the lowest. The 7th house is 22 points.
But the 7th house usually has low points.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is average.
Somewhat average.
Sir, but at the same time, Venus being in the 7th house of Navmansh, Swarashi, I don't see any major reflection on Venus on Navmansh.
No, in fact, it is also aspected by Jupiter, Shishji.
Right. So especially when the Venus Mahadasha is going, we should be hopeful in that case, right?
In Venus Dasha. Okay. Yeah. We have to say, yeah. Because anyway, Navamsha, 7th house Venus, Swakshetra.
So, Guruji, can we say that since Navamsha is showing some good indications,
Yeah,
we can say this
it's
is only
improving
a
in the
degree,
Navamsha. It's
not a
improving. Yeah, it's improving in the Navamsha. So when it improves in the Navamsha, you switch over to the Navamsha more. Because why would it be that the Lagna is so adjusted that the Lord of the 7th is in the 7th as Venus and the Dasha has come? Maybe she was waiting for Venus Mahadasha. So what is the Antardasha now? Venus.
Yes, Guruji.
So then you just say Venus, put in all the efforts for marriage, do some basic remedy, at least do the Naga Pratishtha. Because there's a classic example of 5th lord in the 7th, right? With Ketu in the 5th. The first slide or second slide, 5-7 connection. Then very late marriage because of Sun in the 7th. Bhrigu's words.
Also, there's a parivartana in the Navamsha between Jupiter and Saturn. So it's not like all totally bad.
No. You see, in Saptamsa, the Lord of 5th is on the axis of an eclipse. Ketu, Venus, Rahu, Sun.
Caught in the crossfire.
Yeah. In the divisional chart, always give a lot of importance to grouping and common factors. Any divisional chart. If you see bulk of something happening, please look at it. There is a Rahu Ketu problem going on. Because the Karaka for children, Guru is also with Rahu.
But there is so much of gap, Guruji.
You know, even if there is a gap, this is definitely an affliction only, even if there is a gap. You know why?
Okay.
What are you saying? If there is a gap, what are you trying to establish is that the connections are low. But you cannot exempt the fact that Rahu is already in Jupiter's house itself. He's got into the house, right? So there is a connection already. So Rahu will spoil that place. You don't need it to be so close now. Because Jupiter will say, they are opposite types, Rahu and Jupiter. So the Karaka for children is afflicted. The 11th Lord of desires, fulfillment of desires, is also afflicted by Rahu and Ketu. So I think Naga Pratisha is the way out.
Yeah, like Kishorji mentioned earlier, Guruji, it is almost all the blocks that he has presented this morning. I mean, just an hour ago. Everything is showing up here. 5th and 7th connection, 7th and 9th connection, Saturn and Sun conjunction.
Okay.
Putra Dosha in all angles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming even in Saptamsha also, just like Guruji pointed. So what do we do, Guruji? In such cases, do we say that there is a denial, or do we say we'll have to keep the window open?
It's not only, because it's aiming so much at childlessness. You see how we use the point in any sloka, parihara, this prashit and everything is, you don't say Rahu in the 5th, Ketu in the 5th, do Naga Pratishtha to everyone. You wait. Okay? If you see something already tallying with that, then you should insist on the remedy. Otherwise, you don't insist. You expect the problem, it is there. Naga Pratishtya Putra Prapti. You want child, do Naga Pratishtha. So it will apply only when there is no child. There is no child because, you see, the problem with women is that we have an issue, biological age for producing children. The longer you wait, the chances keep dropping. The less the chance, for child. Even gynecologists will always say that. Then we have an Saptamsa, 5th Lord, in a crossfire and an eclipse. So this Rahu is very powerful now because it manages to be on a very strange combination in the Saptamsa where Sun is debilitated. And then with Rahu and then opposite Ketu and Venus.
Guruji, what if we see the afflictions into the 5th house and they already have children? Then should we still recommend the Naga Pratishtha?
See, one is, it's like, it's like recommending a surgery for somebody. People hate these things. One is it's very expensive, okay? And not many people take it seriously. But the correct answer for your question is all of us should do it. But I don't know if everybody does it. Anyway, no, not that everybody will do it also, right? Just a few percentage of people will get into astrology. And remedies, still lesser than that. How many people will accept? But I usually feel if there is some hint that there is some trouble with the children, I always insist on Naga Pratishtha. Otherwise, I will say, okay, if you want, you do it. Otherwise, you don't do it.
The gist of what you
I
said
have
just
two
now
kids,
is that,
Guruji.
Guruji, is that when there is a problem seen, the blemish is seen or the affliction is seen in the 5th house, only in the D1, but in D9 and in sometimes D7, the afflictions are not seen, then we can safely assume that it is not so severe. Whereas when it seems to be appearing in other charts.
Yeah, you see it appearing in other charts. And in this case, what Ketu's disposal is the Mercury, which went to the 7th house, and that is not his place, right? It belongs to Mars. He hates that place, they don't get along well. So it is a 7th, 5th house definite affliction only. But what I meant was an affliction which starts off in Rashi chart, that Graha Ketu, you find afflicting the 5th Lord in D7. That same Graha. So these ideas have been used regularly in classical textbooks for Navamsha.
That is, you're bringing the 5th Lord of the D1 into the Saptamsha.
Saptamsa, correct. No, the affliction caused by Ketu, I'm picking up Ketu and then searching for what is this Ketu doing in D7. And then I find it has caught hold of Venus. Why do I use the word caught hold of? Is because there is a sun opposite. We use the word caught hold of is only when eclipse happens. Not otherwise. Otherwise, you simply say malefics on the 5th factors. So it's actually aimed at keeping the person childless only. But in the context of all these things put together, that she went through a Ketu Mahadasha for so many years, which is the normal age when she should have been married. So Ketu's effect is already proven. And then on top of that, as an astrologer, I would say, you told Naga Pratishtha and they're not doing it, then surely there is a problem. Because you already gave the information. It's like a student not studying, failing. Then I say, please go for private tuition. They say, sorry, I can't go. Then what will your prediction be? 100% you will fail. If you confirm that you're not going to study. So for me, it's like this. Did you do Naga Pratishtha? In spite of being told, no, I didn't do. I will take it differently. I'll take it that means that this person is not going to have a child. A person who did not know about it, that's a different logic. You got the news and yet you refuse.
So, Guruji, if a person is already having children and then they do the Naga Pratishtha, will it offer protection to the children? Or?
Yeah, it will always be better. I always say
I
that.
am the example, Guruji.
Huh?
I have like 2 kids. I have 2 kids, like 21 and 12. And my husband has a Putra Dosha, severe Putra Dosha. And we did it like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, correct. It should be done to be on the safe side. How many will get the opportunity to read horoscope and know about these things? Because afterwards, if something happens, in the horoscope of an actor who lost his son due to the, what is that fever, that mosquito?
Dengue.
Dengue. He has Rahu in the 5th.
Was it Vivek?
Yeah. So it's always better to do the Naga Pratishtha.
So Naga Pratishtha has to be done as a couple, Guruji.
I mean, I don't know about that. It's just that somehow it should be done for the child.
Yes, so it should be done only after the native is married with the spouse.
It is better that way, I think. But sometimes I have a different opinion. Do it even before selecting the husband.
Does Putra Dosha manifest itself more when the child is male?
Yeah, usually more if it is a boy child. Correct. That is because in India, more importance is given to the boy. It's only, all these are personal, experiences. The way you experience things. That's why Kaladesha Patra. What makes us happy? What makes us sad? Why are we rejoicing in India if you have a son?
So
Actually, we shouldn't,
bringing the idea of experiences and ideologies to this horoscope, I would say that this person is more seeing marriage as a means to have a child. If they definitely see it like that, then unless they do the Naga Pratishtha, they will not get married. While there are some people who do look at marriage as a source of partnership or companionship and not looking for getting children, in those cases, the Naga Pratishtha for this horoscope wouldn't work.
I mean, maybe not needed. Okay.
Yeah, not needed. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the horoscope is trying to prevent the idea of getting children. So, and since the person is connected, getting children with the event of marriage is trying to prevent marriage as well.
Correct. Yeah, that I think we discussed in the beginning of the session, that in order that marriage, children should not be born, therefore marriage never happens. At least in a traditional Indian, family. Because most of the time we beget children in India, the Indian environment, only after marriage. Very rarely does it happen before marriage.
That was one of the points Kishorji's block contains, Guruji.
Yeah.
So we see the Putra Dosha happening here, and when Deepak ji mentioned that if they don't have an inclination to have a child, then there is no question of a Putra Dosha, right?
Correct.
But that is what Guruji is also saying.
Yeah.
But then the treatment consists of treating the underlying cause, isn't it, Guruji? That is one thing I'm wondering.
For example, in this case?
In this case, this Putra Dosha seems to be the underlying cause for...
yeah, underlying cause.
Yeah,
so
but then Deepak ji raised the question, what if they are not interested in raising a child? Then?
No, whether they're
Then
interested
marriage
or
would have never
not.
gotten delayed.
No, whether they're interested or not, anyway it is delayed, right?
So that is the underlying reason, no?
Yeah, and on the border of childlessness. There is a possibility. And it's already proven the point that at this age, the person is not having a child so far. So that's proving the Putra Dosha. When you get proof, I normally recommend that they do the remedy as quickly as possible. At least if they are Indians and...
yeah, you also mentioned once that doing a remedy before any event could happen is always a safe idea and better idea. It's better to be
Correct.
safe than sorry.
Correct.
Guruji,
And
one
8th
question
house
here.
we have not
So,
seen.
Guruji, because like she is going through Venus right now, so chances of getting marriage will be there, considering the point that like Navamsa is improved a lot compared to Rasi chart. And
Sri Devi ji, one small correction. We did not discuss the 8th house, 8th lord here. So if you look at the D1 Lagna, we see the 8th house as occupied by Venus, which is a Shubhagraha, Lagna lord himself. And Venus in the 8th is also good for certain significations. And then we see the dispositor of Venus being afflicted by Rahu, but in the 11th. So Rahu in the 11th separately is good. Jupiter being the Lagna, the 11th lord in 11th is also good. Then we see the 8th lord in 8th house in Navamsha, where we see that 8th house has Mercury in it, which is a good sign once again for life, longevity of the 8th house. Mercury in the 8th is good. And then we see in Saptamsha, I mean, just to put that theory even longer, we see in Saptamsha, I don't know whether we can see the 8th house in Saptamsha, but we see Mercury in the 8th house once again repeating that longevity of the 8th house. And even if you look at Bhava Chalit chart, 8th house has Venus and the Yoga Karak Saturn there in the 8th. So all in all, I see the 8th house afflictions are not that severe.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as aspects are concerned, occupancy is concerned, maybe others can say something, because 8th house was not discussed.
Okay.
I do have a question though. So, yeah,
Yes.
it is interesting between the Lagna chart and the Navmansh. However, within the Lagna chart, with all the issues between 5 and 7, the 7th lord is also going in 6th. So, in that case, should we even recommend a person to get married?
No, that's the question. It all starts with, do you want to get married? Okay. And if they say, I want to get married, then you go for the remedies. If they themselves say, I'm not interested in marriage, only at that time can we say, it's okay, then be like that because it's safer for you, because already you are having the 7th lord and the 6th, which is the highest combination for divorce, right? So already trouble marriage, and then on top of that, you are having this Rahu in the 5th, and God knows what will happen because of the Saptam. So all this you can add up and then say, you also don't want marriage, and we are now going to play safe, then it's better to remain unmarried. But that's how it will be, right? If you have to accept. But otherwise, you tell, please be very strict with horoscope matching. Try to get somebody who's at least nakshatra matches there. You are a non-Mangalic person. Please marry somebody without a Mangal dosha, and so on. Every week, I'm reading 3-4 horoscopes where Mangal dosha mismatch. Correctly, the marriage is failing all the time. I think 7th lord in the 6th, highest occurrence in my life. Wherever I saw 7th lord in the 6th, it was always divorce. Always. All the time.
Even
Okay, 7th lord in the 6th. I'm not very sure about 6th in the 7th. 7th lord in the 6th is terrible, actually.
7th in the 8th, Guruji?
No, it's not that bad. Okay. But if in such a situation of the 7th lord in the 6th, if Rahu also conjoins, it will be nightmarish. Almost nightmare. 7th lord in the 6th with Rahu. The highest.
What if 7th Lord is in 6th in Swakshetra?
7th Lord in 6th Swakshetra is slightly better, but there's no guarantee.
Okay.
Yeah, so sir, my 7th is in 6th, and that is Rahu basically, and Saturn as well.
Sir, 7th in 8, what is the effect, sir?
No, somebody said something now. What is that chart?
So my 7th house lords, Rahu and Saturn, they both are in 6th.
You're married?
No.
Oh.
So yeah, it was a very relatable session anyway.
Okay.
All the combinations what Kishorji presented, obviously I know about them and I could even relate with them.
If you stop sharing, I'll show you all of you an interesting, article. Please read it if you have time, and try to help as many people who's having a 7th house lord in a Dusthana. Okay.
I think it was mentioned in that BGNet 7, right?
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah, I think yes.
Yeah. I saw that. It was quite interesting.
Oh, then it's fine. Yeah.
No, but
just,
I don't think others have seen it.
But just for the sake of, this is my article. I think I wrote long time back. This is not 2013 and all that. It is much predated, I think, more than, I think the first version of this came in 2006, I think. Are marriages made in heaven, or is there a choice that is available, and so on. But if you see a little down, somewhere here, you see this? Also check which planet occupies the 7th house. If the 6th house lord occupies this, this one. If you see the exchange of 7th lord in the 6th, then the trouble marriage is almost 80% fated to happen. Okay? In such cases, horoscope matching is only an effort to save the marriage. I'm saying sometimes the any 7 and 6 connection, even in spite of horoscope matching, it may not work.
Guruji, okay. Here for Leo Lagna, Saturn in Bruhat Parashara, it mentioned that it doesn't appear for the Leo Lagna. Guruji.
Which one?
For Leo Lagna, 7th lord in the 6th, Saturn in the 6th, it doesn't occur. It doesn't happen.
No, that's because you're using the logic Swakshetra, right?
Yeah, that's mentioned in the BHPS as well.
Yeah.
Now, and 7th lord in 8th, can you explain, sir?
7th lord in 8th is, I think, the spouse will have health problem and maybe domination, a little dominating and so on. There is due to health reason, there could be some trouble in marriage. I found 7th lord in the 8th, ectopic pregnancies, the child aborted due to complications in the, the birth process and so on. And which I think Parashara hints as the wife is sick, not healthy.
And if it is in a female chart, then the husband health problem.
Yeah, obviously, you'll have to change it. But when the horoscopes are matched, the domination is acceptable levels. Okay, you dominate, so what? I'm able to adjust with it. The nakshatra match is not there. If it's very low, like a single digit score out of 36, then the chances are very bleak. Okay, yeah. Anyway, we have gone full, I think 3 hours, into, we crossed 3 hours, 8 minutes.
So we reached the vintage length, Guruji. When I was there as a beginner, then sessions will go for 5 hours.
Yeah. Guruji, I want to mention one point, because whenever you're talking, like Jupiter exalted in your Navamsha, we always want to listen to you, like teaching. Really, I thought myself, when Guruji speaks, keep on listening, and you are also extending the conversation, keep giving more information. I really like it.
Same here, Guruji.
Welcome to the club.
Same here.
No, I'm looking at,
like we like to listen to it.
See, I'm more, I'm thinking about life, rebirth, long journey. Even for a short trip, we make so much of plan, but for life, we are not planning at all. It's so complex because of past life. We are fighting. I think Kiran had asked the question. Okay, for Hindus, you say Naga Pratishtha. For other faith, what do you do? Okay, we'll answer that by saying most probably you're not going to meet them at all, right? It's very rare. Second, if at all they come to you accepting the rishis, you also try to convince them, why don't you do Naga Pratishtha straight away? We'll try that. If it is not, at least we know the essence. The essence is something connected to snake-like or snake things like poison. In those days, abortions were done in a very crude way, right? A lot of problems. And very strange, whenever I used to say previous birth you used to abort children, and now God says, I'm not going to give you another chance. They'll say, no, sir, in this life itself, I aborted 3 children. When I say last birth, you aborted children, they'll say this birth. Same thing. In last birth, you killed snakes. No, sir, this birth itself, I killed so many snakes. Rahu in the 5th, Ketu in the 5th. So I tell them about the snake concept, about the misconceptions, killing of young ones because you are afraid. How Kamsa wants to kill the 8th born to, the parents of Sri Krishna, obsessed with killing. I think the killing story, the killing of children was there in Jesus Christ birth, right? King Herod announced that all the children who's of this age be killed. I think it was 4 BC. 4 BC or something like that. I don't know when the prediction was, but I know the name of the king, Herod, Herod. He said, kill all the children. Okay. So we have
It
been...
was the same case.
Yeah.
It was the same case under Moses, the prince of Egypt.
Okay.
The Pharaoh ordered all the firstborns of the slaves to be killed, and Moses was one among them.
Yeah. So we have this planning. You kill that so that his Vamsha will not exist. Make sure it is wiped off completely. And snake, you kill the snake, you kill all of them. Don't leave even the eggs, you smash the eggs. That's why in Kerala you will see they always connect the eggs to the snake, whatever offerings they do. So it's a concept of the birth itself, the beginnings. But why they used to kill, why they used to destroy the eggs of snakes was because the theory is that you kill a snake, its mate and its young ones will come after you. That's the thing. But it's actually representing something else. If you kill anything, it will come after you in a different way, in karma. Okay, so people, what they did, they used to do away with the eggs of the snakes, I think, or I don't know, whatever that is. Okay. So this you anticipate that the snake is poisonous and it might kill you. So I tell people who belong to other faith, why don't you do something like promote the concept of save the snakes, because here we are asking you to worship the snakes. Normally we don't kill that which we worship. Okay, so that's the logic. So you tell people, like we have in wildlife, we want to conserve, conservation of wildlife. You want to save the lion, you want to save the tiger, you want to save everything now. Once upon a time, it was considered a pastime to hunt down these animals. And I met some people who know a great deal about this. They said the earth was filled with snakes once upon a time, and human beings were the only ones who killed them. So we must have accumulated a lot of snake, dosha. So I used to say, in some snake sanctuaries, they accept money for the welfare of snakes. Okay. And yeah.
No, so please continue. I'll ask later.
Okay. So you take care of them and tell the whole world, don't abort children. I think in India we have female infanticide, right? When they come to know that the child is going to be a female, you kill the child, you abort the child. And in India and generally also, people take abortion lightly. They do not take it seriously. Okay, they do not know it is actually murder. murder is, you know, you get the highest punishment for murder of human being, right? We only say you kill a Brahmin, there's Brahma Hatya. Killing a human being is Brahma Hatya. Okay. So killing a child is Brahma Hatya. So you'll be punished severely for that. You'll say no big deal. Okay. In our a person, his wife conceived. They're basically poor people. The wife conceived, and the guy came and told me, "No, what should I do? I don't want a child because I can't manage the financial expenses." I said, "You should have made sure that you don't conceive a child, and now you conceive the child. You better somehow do something and save the child and take care." Then the wife said, "No, we are going to abort the child." They belong to a different faith. Okay, so I could not convince them. And my wife said, "Can you give us that child? There is somebody who wants to take care of the child. A rich couple wants to take care." You know what the girl said? The girl said, "It is better to kill it than to allow it to grow anywhere else. I don't like it. If I have it, I will have to be I'll have to take care of the child. Otherwise, I will kill it but never give it to someone else. My child should not be anywhere else." She's ready to kill it. And they did the abortion in a very bad way. I mean, some mistakes happened. And she was on life and death situation for 1 week. Something got so complicated. And through the husband, she was continuously sending us messages saying, "I'm very sorry. You told us not to abort. I never knew I'll be punished." I told myself, I couldn't tell them because they don't believe in rebirth. You don't know what you're going to be, what you're going to experience in the next life. This is just a sample of what you're going through now. I told that in my mind. Of course, I didn't tell it to them. So, please read my article, Why Only Sarpa Dosha? Why there is no other animal in our horoscope? Why do we only have Sarpa, the snake? Why don't we have lion, elephant, tiger in our horoscope?
So can I say something?
Yes.
So, suppose someone doesn't believe in Naga Pratishtha, but if they really want to help a needy pregnant lady for the treatment,
Yeah, you can do you can do it in any different way you want.
Yes.
But the bottom line is you will not touch creation anymore. You are not going to play around with something that is coming up. You have to give a chance to children. And I always used to, I saw once a video where a tigress is feeding a just born monkey. There is so much kindness in the animal world. You can see how the mothers will fight to protect the child. The human being is the only race where the mother will kill the child. I'm using the word intentionally. I'm not using the word abortion. Okay.
At least by looking at the animal kingdom, we humans should take a lesson.
Correct.
But they kill only for hunger.
Look at this lady who's saying, "I would rather kill it than let my child grow somewhere else." And my wife is telling her, they're extremely rich people. She's saying no. And then she goes to some Tom, Dick and Harry doctor and messes up with the entire process, and everything goes upside down.
Buddhi hi karmanya anusar.
So, if suppose there are some pregnant ladies who go for scan and they come to know the child has got Down syndrome, and then they decide to just abort.
It is still a sin only. Okay. Because the soul is coming, wanting to take birth and finish off a karma like that, it's better to go through the suffering. It's not a smart idea, but this is a gray area. You will say like mercy killing or something like that, right? So
And even the suffering for the parents, they were supposed to go through with that suffering, and you're avoiding to delay it. So
yeah.
eventually,
Yeah, that's what. Anyway, there will be problems. Even if you kill, also there will be problem, right? If you destroy that child, again there will be a problem. But if you take care of the child's karma is also settled, and your karma to go through a putra dosha also gets settled. Okay. So normally we should, now all these machines are making it possible. You can scan, but those days it is not possible, right? Only after the child is born they'll come to know. Only gradually they'll come to know. It's a very sad thing. I mean, all this just proves how serious life is. Don't say life is a game, play it and enjoy it. All this is only joke. The reality is something else.
So can I say something?
Yeah.
So going back in the mythological stories of Mahabharata,
okay.
Basically when Pandavas asked to have a separate property or a kingdom, when they were trying to go through with the Indraprasth, the reason Kauravas agreed to give that piece of land was because it was shrapit with Nagas. And basically I believe the Indradev told that this is the only land you can live on the earth, and you won't be coming out and harming the humans. And that was the piece of a land which was provided to Pandavas to create their kingdom. And that's where the yuddha happened between Arjun and Indradev. Indradev being so-called his father, right? Because he was a blessing of Indradev. So there was a yuddha which happened, and eventually Arjuna actually killed all the Nagas. So there was a shrap on the Pandavas family that the last person of his family, ancestral family chart, whatever the hierarchy, that last person would be killed by the Nag. So the last so-called child, which was Pandav family, so he was killed by the snake. So that's where snakes also keeps coming back in human life for us.
Correct. So snake is a different, actually, like a kind of a metaphor. It's not just the snake; it is a concept actually about snakes, because you kill snakes anticipating that it is poisonous and it is going to kill you. We do all kinds of mistakes like this. I'm sure this person is up to something. So before he gets me, let me kill him off. Finish him off. So we have been doing this for long time. And that's why this Naga dosha alone is there in the horoscope. Okay.
A similar concept is presented in the Bible when in the story of Adam and Eve, it is said that the devil takes the form of a serpent to convince Eve to have the fruit of knowledge.
Yeah.
And
is Vijula saying something or?
I muted him.
Okay. What is it, Deepak?
Yeah, so it's considered as a boon and a curse, because when the snake convinces Eve to have the fruit, and what most people know is that they only know until the events of both Adam and Eve having the fruit, but they don't know what are the events happen after having the fruit of knowledge. So what happens is, after Adam and Eve has the fruit, they first hide themselves in bushes, because they start to experience each other in their nakedness, and they become aware of the surroundings and everything. So what the snake actually helped them was to become aware of the suffering and I'm not sure how to put it in the right words, but it was to make them aware of the surroundings more and the sufferings and the reality of everything. So the specific event is actually quite important, and God did expect all of this to happen, and that's how they say it in the Bible. There's a lot of deeper meaning to all of this, but the concept of serpents associated with evil, but actually giving a different perspective to humans, has always been explored, even in other religions.
Yeah, even in the Samudra Manthan story, Rahu is made immortal by the same Mahavishnu. Even though the act of severing his head, cutting off his head happened, in a way it is like saying, Vishnu is almost like saying, okay, he allows Rahu to consume the Amrit. So only after consuming, the head is cut off. So it is like proving the point that Rahu and Ketu will always be there. Right? In the same way, in the Adam and Eve story, the snake is there, and maybe God did expect it to happen.
Yes.
Interestingly, the Samudra Manthan story, the picturization is there in the airport of Thailand. Okay, very, very strange that Thailand has the Samudra Manthan story.
Somebody would have advised them a remedy for all the people who are flying there.
A lot of strange things are there even in Angkor Wat temple.
No, Rahu is the intoxicant. Rahu is the Maya. Rahu is the pleasure. The pleasure of eating too much, pleasure of drinking too much. So all the excessive things. So, I mean, we went there because we had a Rotary International meeting there. The entire flight we went. The entire flight was filled with only us Rotarians, nobody else, only Rotary Club members. And we had a grand 4-day event in that place. But I was shocked to see the wonderful long Samudra Manthan thing there. And people didn't even care to look at it, But just to prove the point that the Indian civilization must have been very wide. The nation must have been very large, extending up to Thailand.
See, Guruji, it goes till Cambodia also. There are Shivalingas in Cambodia.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, if you draw a big, circle, it should go. I think it goes very close to Afghanistan, up to Afghanistan, right? On this side, it includes Afghanistan.
Yes,
we have
sir.
proof. We have proof for that.
A lot of research is going on.
Yeah, Mahabharata, the Gandharvas. That is actually Afghanistan, it seems. Okay.
And in a culture of tradition where even cutting trees is also, considered a sin.
Correct.
So there, when you kill or when you're aborting a child, it's even worse.
Correct. Exactly.
Or for a tree also, they have to do a prayashchit, I think. If it's a fully grown tree, then they have to do a lot of prayashchit.
Correct. Okay. We will end here. What is so special about today? Is there any some special star going on now?
8th star.
Oh, I should have sensed it. Saturn star. My God. So you started off by saying Saturn is a delaying planet, right?
Yes, Guruji. The session also went long because of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Hari Om Guruji. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you,
Guruji.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Kishorji. Amazing presentation. Pretty much covered everything in just one slide. So thank you.
Actually, trust me, there's so much that I didn't cover actually.
It's always like that. Astrology is like that. Don't worry.
Because I didn't want it to become so very long and too technical.
Ramesh, are you now practicing astrology? Ramesh?
Yes, sir.
Oh, very good. Okay. Keep documenting every case study and, always don't miss the opportunity to come out with some books in the, after some years.
I have started a couple of articles, sir, but
Okay.
I'll take your blessing before I
It's worth, it's just trying to do it's just our way of expressing gratitude to the ancient rishis who wanted this, what we call Sanatana Dharma to be, anyway, it is, the meaning of Sanatana is permanent, right? It's not going to die. So none of these things is ever going to die. Don't worry. It's just going to grow by the day. So we'll all contribute. How does it happen? It happens only through people. So ultimately, we'll spread the message.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
I
Bye.
haven't seen Pavani ji for a long time.
Who?
Pavani.
Pavani, what happened?
No, we haven't seen for a long time. We usually get confused between Pavani and Sridevi ji.
Yeah.
I can check with her, Kishorji. I have like personal contact with her.
I just find out. I hope she's well.
Yeah.
Well, last
Sure,
I checked
Guruji.
with her, she was in India actually.
Okay.
I will check with her.
If there are any good things in this today's session, all the credit goes to my Guruji, who is in front of you in the screen, who is conducting the sessions for all of us. And if there's any mistake, the mistakes are solely mine, not my Guruji's. I will really ask for feedback and I will stand corrected.
See, in astrology, we can expect only 80 to 90% accuracy. Somewhere something will go wrong. So don't bother about that. But in the, if you look at the larger picture, that's very, very steady. It's going steady, right? And we must have, faith and passion. You will be able to. So if somebody says something, you should be able to even guess. It looks like you have this planetary position. Like that, you should try and see how it works. You'll be actually thrilled.
I actually do that, Guruji. I see one of my students being dropped by his sister on a bike. And then I think, okay, a female riding a bike, definitely Mars is very strong.
Oh, okay. And try to observe faces and ask them what is your nakshatra and keep registering the face types, the way they talk, the way they move and all that. And if whenever you see a similar thing somewhere else, you ask them boldly, is this your nakshatra? And you'll be pleasantly surprised. I promise you. Okay.
We'll keep track, Guruji.
Yeah.
There's already so many things that we are doing.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Thank you, Guruji. Good night.